All right, let's call the select board meeting to order for Monday, July 11th at 7:03 p.m. First order of business, to review agenda for additions, removal, or adjustments of any items. I think the only thing we have is the resignation. Is that it, Val?
Correct.
Where do you want to put that?
Well, I don't know if it needs to be a special agenda item or put it under other business or address it now.
Let's just put it under other business.
Okay. And that's the resignation of a firefighter.
Correct. Okay, that it? Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay, everybody knows Zoom meeting, so please make sure you're muted. And if you need to talk, well, you can't send a chat apparently, so you're going to have to wave. Public forum. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say under public forum that is not currently on the agenda and would take less than 5 minutes? Okay, moving on.
Michelle, FYI, they can also raise hand too.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Well, I think I just fixed the chat.
You think you just fixed the chat? Somebody, hey, Ian,
All
try.
right.
He did.
Yeah. Nicely done.
So what'd you do,
Google
Jen?
is just an amazing thing these days, you know. When you open, like if you're the host and you open the chat box, there's the 3 little dots on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
And if you click on that, it says who can chat.
Oh.
So somehow it got turned to no one.
Good thing we got our crack IT team on the case here.
That's all I can do. I'm done.
You wish.
That's our contribution for tonight.
Right.
Okay. Regular business. Acorn AES3 landfill solar project update. And what is in a name? So who's going to jump in on that one?
Hi, folks. This is Benjamin Marks, and with me are Greg Paul and Susan Smiley, who are also on the Acorn Energy Board. So we have a bunch of good news. The first is that we were green-lighted by GMP in terms of our feasibility study, which is basically GMP saying, hey, if you build this, it's not going to crash our system. And sometimes these things can go more marginal, but we turn out to be fine. So that's from a technical perspective, the last thing we needed before resubmitting our application to the PUC, which we did on December 23rd. So that is very good. It means from a regulatory perspective with the PUC, we're full speed ahead. And I wish I could give you all an accurate guess of what that means in terms of a time frame to get to a permit. But it's a good site, and we've been very grateful for the town's support. So I think that it will go as smoothly as it can. The PUC has set a deadline of February 1st for before it drops its net metering rate adders. And one of the things that usually causes is a large influx of other projects, which only affects us in the sense that a finite number of person hours in terms of board staff goes into reviewing more stuff that comes in. But my hope is that having gotten in December, that we'll escape the worst of the traffic jam. And that, we should have a favorable result before the construction season ends. At least that's my hope. Another positive development, and I should say, interrupt me if you have any questions about this. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hey, Ben, Ian here.
Yeah.
Had you already submitted to the PUC? I thought there was something that was in progress that then stopped or was put on the back burner.
Yes, we can do a little bit of deep history here. We had submitted our application to the PUC. I guess it must have been in June or so, and what happened to us was that because of the delays in negotiating the lease option agreement with you guys, we couldn't demonstrate site control for GMP. So we had submitted the kind of broad outlines of the MOU with the material terms, but we didn't have anything with Bristol's signature on it. And so GMP said, hey, you don't have site control yet. We're going to do studies for other projects who do have site control. Okay. And they were kind of ahead of us in the queue. So we did ultimately sign a lease option agreement with you guys, but by the time we did, GMP was otherwise engaged studying this circuit with other projects. And because their rules say that if you create instability on the system, you have to pay to fix the problem, they can only study projects in the order that they are proposed. And they have a checklist internally of what's needed for that. Anyway, we had asked the PUC to overlook the fact that that was in process, knowing that we'd have our answer from GMP before the PUC ever made its decision. But the PUC said, hey, we have rules and you have to follow them. So we're just going to suspend this until you've got the information that you need. And that's where we are today. So we're full steam ahead at the PUC, hopefully with no harm done. Sorry, any other questions about that piece of the regulatory process? All right. The second good piece of news is that we have a commitment from our Series A investor. And I know that we described in general terms what the financial, how the project works financially. But for those who weren't here for the prior discussion, the lion's share of the construction costs are borne by a financial investor who is a local insurance company. They don't take any of the electric credits from the project. They're just interested in the tax credits and the depreciation, which they can use to offset their own tax liabilities, which is a good thing because they use those tax credits to lower their insurance policy on Addison County businesses. So there is some virtue to having them there. But with their commitment to participate in the project, it enables us to put together our marketing materials and go to the Department of Financial Regulation, which we plan to do in a week or 10 days or so. Basically, what the Department of Financial Regulation is there to do is to keep you from marketing securities to the public without at least somebody from the government casting an eye on your offering. They don't pass judgment on whether it's a good deal or whether it's something people should invest in, but they are a disinterested third party, and they read through your materials and make sure that they're clear and make sure that the average investor can understand the deal that you're offering. And most importantly, from both Bristol's and our perspective, once you're through that process, it enables you to start talking about a price per share or a price per panel for investors to the project, and we can start reaching out to Bristol residents and businesses, people who have meters locally, to see if they want to participate. So some of the stuff that we have said we can't really discuss publicly in terms of a price per panel and all the rest of that, we can sort of take the veil off of that once we've been through that financial process. The DFR process takes about a month to go through. And in this case, because our deal, the one we're offering, is so similar in structure to what the very same regulators saw in Shoreham, we're relatively sure that we don't have a steep learning curve in terms of educating the regulators about how the project's going to work from a financial point of view. So we expect that, we hope that, let's say 6 weeks from now, we'll be having another conversation about how to let folks in Bristol know that this opportunity exists, and that we're happy to answer any specific questions about what costs would be if folks decide that they want to go solar in this way rather than putting panels on their own roofs, and they can compare what our prices are to the prices of doing a solar project in their backyard or on their roofs or what have you. So that's also very exciting. It means that the other major hurdle to the marketing process has been cleared, which is really good. And at that point, everybody on the select board will be able to see exactly who's paying what in terms of how the project works, And I promise we'll spend as much time as we need to demystify the financial aspects of this in terms of what an investment in the project means and when people can expect to see their investment returned in the form of energy credits on their bills and so on. And I should pause there to ask if there are any questions about that regulatory process before going on to the last topic I have for you all, which is actually related to the marketing. All right, I don't see any hands being raised. Once again, butt in if I'm going too fast or I'm covering too much ground. So the last thing that we wanted to talk to you guys about was the name of the project, because it's going to appear in all the marketing documents and all the literature. And we were thinking about calling it Bristol Community Solar. I mean, at the moment it's called Acorn Energy Solar 3 LLC, which is neither descriptive in terms of where the project's located, nor really indicative of the community that we're going to be a part of. But we didn't want to just call it Bristol Community Solar without at least discussing that with you guys. We would probably talk about it as Bristol Community Solar and Acorn Energy Project. And it would be, this is sort of along the lines of a DBA. We wouldn't be changing the corporate name or anything. But I think it's time for me to start talking and start listening to how you all feel about that name, whether you feel it's sufficiently descriptive, whether you'd like it to be called something else. For all I know, you guys may have your own ideas about how these things get named. The only thing I want to avoid is a result. I've been joking with the board is if you recall, the British Navy put up naming rights in a public forum for one of their ships and wound up with a ship called Bodie McBoatface. I think we'd like to not go in that direction. But with that, I'll turn it back to you guys for any comments about the suggested name or any other thoughts you have.
Comments?
I like the name. I think it is suitable and fits what it's going to be.
You mean you don't want landfill in there somewhere?
Not really.
Okay.
Can
Anybody
you,
else?
Can you state the name? Whoops, I'm sorry. Can you just state the name one more time, please?
Bristol Community Solar.
Bristol Community Solar. Thank you.
Joel?
I actually like that. Landfill solar. Just landfill solar.
It sounds like you're filling the landfill with just solar panels, like dinging them
No,
down.
what I'm trying to say there is we are taking a piece of land that's no longer usable
That's true.
and repurposing it. And it was a landfill, and that's where I was trying to get that name from. Just
Right.
landfill solar.
I mean,
Say
landfill solar is it's better than town dump solar. I'll tell you that.
Right.
Well, you could just call it Bristol Landfill Community Solar, but
Yeah. Yeah, I like Bristol Community Solar. I don't think there are any other projects that are called that. I know that
I think that was my only thought, Ian, is if there were another one, is there a way to identify
right.
if you're going to do more than one community solar in Bristol? You can
I guess that would be
identify it a certain way.
Yeah, that would be the Acorn. They'd have to, and if it was Acorn doing another project in Bristol, then obviously you have to figure it out.
Right.
I don't know if Sally, chair of the Energy Committee, has any thoughts on that.
Go ahead, Sally.
Yeah, I think the other one that's being proposed is going to be called Bristol Solar. And so if this was Bristol Community Solar, I think that will work because, you know, one's a community and one's not, but they are fairly close.
Yeah.
But I think this one gets probably first dibs because it's been going.
Well, let me talk to my resident PR expert, Greg Paul. What do you think about Bristol Landfill Community Solar? Do you think having the landfill in there will turn people off?
Someone just flushed it down. Forget it. I guess.
Sorry, Greg, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I think it's a hard question to answer because different people are going to respond to it differently. I think short and simple is preferable to long and complicated. And I think that the Bristol Community Solar is very descriptive and relatively short. I don't know. I think I still have a preference for that, but your opinions on this almost matters more than ours, because we're trying to encourage the fact and highlight the fact that this is a collaborative community project that all of us are going to be involved in. And I think that name tends to sort of imply that.
Peeker, did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh, I'm not crazy about landfill being in it.
Are you opposed to Bristol Community Solar, Joel?
No.
No, okay. I was going to say, I'm not
I won't.
opposed to it.
I won't scream and holler and everything.
Well, there you go. I think Bristol Community Solar is a good choice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
You good
Thanks
with
for the
that, Ben?
update.
Yes, that's super. I'm going to my reactions here and giving a thumbs up.
It's quicker to unmute.
Almost. All right. Well, thank you very much. We won't take up any more of your time tonight. And
Great.
as soon as we're through the Division of Financial Regulation, expect us to flood you with marketing materials.
And Ben, is that the time when you are going to start looking for investors, or you won't do that until once you start the build?
No, we will start looking for investors as soon as the Department of Financial Regulation sort of blesses the marketing documents and says, yeah, these aren't misleading. We understand what it is you're offering.
Okay.
And the reason that we do that is that the money to build the project comes from the investors.
Mhm.
So, we'll have a commitment for, the lion's share of the construction costs. But it's just over half. It's not enough to get started. And not surprisingly, if you were the one who was forking over just over half the money for this, you would want to know that the rest of the money was in place before you started spending wildly on panels or racking or mounting or anything. So the idea would be to go raise all the money that we need. In the past, we have sort of divided the offering into buckets, to reserve a certain percentage of the panels for folks in the town that's hosting the project, and then to try to get an assessment of how much appetite there is, and if one bucket is oversubscribed, maybe reallocate a little bit. The last time we did this, it was a smaller project, and I think I obviously these are different times, but the sales process was quite quick. I think it was maybe 6 weeks from when we started, the whole project was committed for. And at that point, we're really waiting on the CPG, because you can't build anything until you get a CPG in hand. And because CPGs can sometimes contain surprising conditions that you didn't anticipate or that cost more, you don't want to spend anybody's money that you can't refund until you can actually afford to build what the PUC has authorized. So the sequence of events is first going to the financial regulators, getting their blessing, then marketing to people and getting a commitment to sign up, then getting a CPG from the Public Utilities Commission, then holding a financial closing where everybody contributes their money. And then very quickly after that, the money is spent on panels, racking, concrete, etc. And the speed with which all that takes place can depend on when in the year you get your CPG, because the concrete can't set in the coldest parts of the winter. So you sort of have a fall, early winter construction period, and then a spring construction period when things dry out. And where you intersect with that depends on how quickly the PUC does its job. So you've got to keep a lot of balls in the air for something like this until all the pieces fall into place.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, Ben.
Appreciate
Thank you,
the
everyone.
opportunity to talk to you. Thank you.
Yep.
Have a
thank
good
you.
night.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Okay, moving on. Red Loaf Court, Public Works, Police Building Site Needs Analysis Subsurface Investigation Report Recommendations.
Good evening, everybody. This is Jim Pulver. Fred Bellucci and Steve Rooney are also on the call. What we'd like to do, unless you'd like to do otherwise, is basically just run through the letter dated January 6th and review that and address any questions that you folks might have.
Would any of you want to have screen sharing?
Would you be able to pull it up, Valerie? If not, we can work on pulling that up.
I have it available.
You have it up, Steve?
I can bring it up.
Okay.
Can I share, Valerie?
Yes.
So while Steve's bringing that up, basically we looked at 4 borings on site. The materials all appear to be very loose to medium dense mixture of sand, gravel, topsoil, roots, concrete, bricks, cinders, asphalt, wood. There was also some silty peat and glass and porcelain in some of the borings. And the locations and the fill depths are shown here on this particular slide. The fill depths range from roughly 13 feet deep to roughly 23 feet deep. This is page 4 out of the letter. The fill at boring B1, which is in blue, was roughly 15 feet deep. At B2, the fill was roughly 23 feet deep. At B3, roughly 18 feet 3 inches deep, and at B4, 13 feet deep. Also on this plan, Steve has highlighted the perimeter of the proposed edge of pavement, which is the red dotted line, and he's highlighted the building footprints in yellow. So there's the DPW building on the left and the police station on the right.
Jim, can I jump in for a minute?
Sure.
On the on your borings, when you're saying 13 feet, 23 feet, that mean that's how far you went down before you hit like more solid fill?
That means the depth to native material. So that's
Okay.
the amount of bad fill that you've got there in place, which would
Okay.
have to be dealt with.
All right. So then,
It's a bit deeper than I certainly had anticipated it would be.
okay. So my second question is where the green garage currently is. There were no borings there. Was there no concern about that?
Well, there were borings B1, the gray box.
No, the first building there, the older building.
Oh, the green garage. I'm sorry.
The green garage, yeah.
There was there is concern. However, there was difficulty, let's say, in accessing the north side of that building and the east side of that building.
Okay.
We would anticipate that there would also be unsuitable material in those locations as well.
Yeah, we had actually
documented.
We'd actually shown a location and we scoped it out to be drilled right about in this corner. Can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
And that was a problematic spot to get to with the truck. And they thought we would start in the other locations. And by the time we finished the 4 borings, the weather really just broke loose and we had to quit for the day. So
Okay.
This is what we were able to get in the time that we had.
Okay.
The report also refers to slope stability, and that's generally on the north side of the proposed buildings. For the options, for the subgrade remediation options, for the new buildings, there were two options. The first being to stabilize the existing materials in place using Geopiers. Steve, could you go to page 2? I'm sorry, page 3. There we go. And zoom in on that little section right there. So this is a conceptual section of a Geopier system. In brown there with the little note is a potential building, the person standing there on the floor slab, and then you see the foundation wall and footings also in brown. Also noted an apron outside the building to the right, and drew, a line depicting, potential grade. Everything that's kind of shaded in yellow would be your layer of unsuitable soils. The dark line going to white at the bottom would be your native soils. So this is where we're saying, the fill depth is 13 to 20 feet deep. It would be that dimension to the elevation of the native soils. Typically with Geopiers, what happens is the existing material is removed down to about the elevation of the bottom of the footings, in some cases a foot or two deeper, depending upon the actual materials encountered. And then Geopiers are actually drilled or vibrated into the unsuitable soils. And these are photographs of the installation we did up in central Vermont a couple of years ago. And this uses the system where they actually vibrated the material into place. And that YouTube link there, you can go on there and see a video of the Geopiers being installed. The second option basically was to remove all the existing unsuitable soil materials and replace them with compacted fill. So we have these two options. With respect to the parking lot, the geotech consultant felt that the Geopiers would be not cost effective to stabilize the soil under the parking areas. And in effect, what we did when we put the pricing together, we combined option 2 for the new building stabilization with the removal of all of the unsuitable soils and replacement with structural fill for the parking lots. Option number 1 with the Geopiers would assume something very similar as to what's shown on that conceptual section, where you would place the footings for the building foundation at the level of the Geopiers, the tops of the Geopiers, the exterior walls. Then basically you would backfill with structural fill below the interior floor slab. And if there was an exterior apron for the building, as was planned for DPW, you'd also place structural fill under that apron, and then just regular fill, in areas that were left to be unpaved. So that's kind of an overview of the two options. And with respect to slope stability, There was a recommendation that the existing slopes be protected from future erosion and runoff. So we go to page 2, if you would, Steve. We'll get to these diagrams here in a second. So page 2, up there at the top, we have a rough order of magnitude estimate that Fred put together for the recommended activities. As you see there, option 1 is roughly $400,000 to stabilize the fill in place with Geopiers. Option 2 for the building and for removal and replacement of fill under the parking lots would be roughly $638,000. And then the work related to stabilization of the north slope would be roughly $43,000. And here we can go to those takeoff plans, Steve, beginning on page 5. So this first plan is for option 1, and it notes the information that Fred generated for his estimate in removing the material beneath the building, beneath the apron, and actually having a slope cut around the perimeter of the buildings. And it indicates the cubic yardage there for the undercut and for the Geopier undercut. Go on to the next page, Steve. We have option number 2, which is remove and replace all of the fill. And in the light blue, it indicates the cubic yardage that would be removed beneath the buildings and the parking areas. As you can see there, Fred assumed an average of 15 feet of material cut, and then a 1-to-1 slope, if you would, at the perimeter for actually being able to slope back the edge of the excavation. And then the final diagram is the slope stabilization diagram. And when we look at the estimate, you can see the actual materials that Fred had estimated to address the north slope. This diagram illustrates the location for the riprap that would be installed at the top of the slope and to direct channels down the slope to control potential erosion. And the next page, final page here, is Fred's takeoff for the rough order of magnitude estimate, indicating the associated quantities and the unit costs related to those various material quantities and so forth. Are there any questions at this point?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
You're talking about the Geopiers. You put them in. How many piers are you putting them in? Where do they go in, just around the exterior of the building, or are they all throughout?
They're throughout the entire footprint of the building, and they're on a grid that's generally determined by the Geopier engineer based on the available soils information. There would need to be additional soils investigation to finalize, well, not necessarily to finalize, but to establish a design. Excuse me, establish a design. Fred, did you have a, when you did the takeoff for the Geopiers, did you assume a spacing for the Geopiers?
Well, I used the same density we had on
stow, Jim, and just I converted it to square foot. And
Okay.
layout varies a little bit. It was a little tighter around the perimeter and a little looser in the footprint.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that if I remember right, somewhere around 9 feet
Okay.
was the grid.
Okay. So then from looking at this, I'm gathering that whether you do one or two, the Geopiers or you remove and replace, we have to do the slope stabilization for either option.
That would be correct. What I should mention is with option number 1, if you chose to do option number 1 and not remove the material beneath the parking lots, it would be inappropriate to pave those parking areas, as you would likely have, displacement and settlement and cracking and movement of the pavement.
Peeker, you might be able to answer this question. The stuff, if we're removing it, is it something we have to be concerned about? I mean, I have no idea what they're going to find in there.
Yeah.
I'm guessing if they're finding porcelain and wood and all that, it's part of the way back landfill.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was worried about.
Yeah. It's that crunched up toilet.
Well, I'm thinking if you start messing with that, does the state come in and start?
Well, if you recall, a number of weeks ago, we talked about also looking at a phase 1 environmental site assessment.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last paragraph of our letter, we talk about other considerations. If you look at this property and say you wanted to pursue the Geopier option and the slope stability, there's $450,000 related to that. And if you were to compare that, in your big picture to what it might cost to buy a piece of land or extend utilities to that piece of land or extend an access road to that land, removing that land from the tax rolls if it's private property. I mean, I think you need to take other things into consideration in determining whether or not this parcel would remain viable. And if you were to determine it remain viable, then we would recommend that you proceed with the phase 1 environmental site assessment to figure out whether or not there's hazardous or toxic materials mixed into all that stuff. Because right now, our estimates, do not take into account dealing with any of that hazardous waste. And, I'd be willing to bet that you're going to find it.
You're so optimistic.
Well, I thought we were going to find stuff buried there, but I didn't realize we were going to find this much stuff.
I didn't want to bring up it being a landfill before, but it was like, oh God. Questions for anybody else? Thoughts? Go ahead, Val.
One thought I have is that if we find or believe that it might qualify as a brownfield site, there might be resources available through community development block grants or some other funding source to help remediate pay for part of the removal and clean up.
Well, the problem is if it's can't stay on site and we remove it, it's going to end up having to go to Coventry or some other lined landfill if they deem that it's bad.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
which then we have to pay for.
Exactly. I mean, one of the thoughts that we had originally was lowering the site and taking the gravel out, lowering the site, but it sounds like the gravel that's there is junk.
There is no gravel.
Well, I think we're into the fill material. We're not necessarily into the gravel. and it must have been built up. And we
Yeah.
talked about that internally as well. You know, what if we just cut it down and try to avoid putting fill material back in to bring it back up? But
Yeah.
again, you get into the question of the hazardous materials and how to deal with them.
Yeah, and we can't cut 23 feet. I mean, it'd be one
No.
thing to cut 3 or 4 feet and set everything down, but you're talking cutting 20 feet in places. That's a hole.
Well, you know, we can.
It would be good if we could keep it on site and shove it to the north and soften that slope. That would help us with our erosion, but we're still going to have to do something as far as the water coming off of those buildings.
Well, come on, can't we dig it in the hole and build it in a hole? And then the top would be even with the ground, the current ground.
Well, that way all your buildings would be at the same elevation as the salt shed.
Well, really? Is there something wrong with that?
You know, I think the other thing to take into consideration is how you keep DPW open while all this is going on. You know,
Right.
so you'd have to relocate them, and you know, there'd be costs incurred with, you know, temporary facility to keep DPW up and running.
Yeah,
It ain't gonna take you guys a couple weeks.
The phasing plan that we suggested, you know, earlier on really kind of gets thrown out the window when you're trying to remediate all these soils and put Geopiers in, because you want to kind of do all that in one swoop. You don't really want to have those people mobilize, you know, 3 or 4 different times. So
I'm gonna share my screen just as a map, and I had a few questions, maybe for Peeker. Let's see if I can do this here. There we go. Can everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the site. So Peeker, you probably know the history. If they're finding stuff in these areas here, how big was the original landfill? Is it the entire site of that area, or was it just a section of it?
Well, as a kid, I remember dumping over where, if you continue out through past the road that goes right straight out, I remember dumping on the level there, and they used to just push it over the bank.
Okay.
So when we did the landfill work and took out the trees beyond that, that's where all the glass and steel and everything was that had been pushed over the bank for years.
You're talking down the slope and to the north? Is that where you're talking about?
If you go right straight, if you drive in the entryway and you go right straight back, there's keep following the other road to
keep going to the west. Yeah.
towards Mount Abe.
Okay.
So see where the trees step back, that bank there, that was all slope when we did the landfill, in between the trees and the landfill.
Okay.
And stuff was just, to my knowledge, it was just dumped on top there and pushed over or burnt whenever it got to the point where it was.
Yeah.
So I don't have any idea where the salt shed was a gravel pit that Floyd Hall had at one time.
I mean, I wonder if we have options in terms of positioning the buildings, but we may not, given the actual plot of land and what's underneath. Like, you know, it's a fairly large area, but you're dealing with fairly large buildings, and so there's not a lot of other places where you can put things if you had to.
Yeah,
So,
and at the moment we have to maintain, obviously the travel path to your new solar.
Right.
And we have to maintain an easement, whether it still wants to be maintained or not, to the Mount Abe school site. And obviously you still need access down to the salt shed. There's a lot of circulation requirements on the site that eat up a lot of space.
Peeker and Joel, you guys would know better than me, but you know, if we were to have to find a different site, what about our current gravel pit down off of Stony Hill? Is that an option?
It's an option. I don't feel it's a safe place to be coming out of in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
And you've got the, New Haven has gone right up to the edge of our road. It's an option, but I don't think it's a good one.
Okay.
I talked with Eric about this briefly on Friday or so, and he didn't think that has enough land area.
Ian, can you go back to the view of the sheds, 3 buildings? Pull it up. Fred and Jim, question here, and I don't know if you can see my little white arrow, or I can only.
They probably can't see you because you're not
Black
showing the
arrow.
screen.
Okay, yeah, Ian, put your black cursor right about 10 feet away from the dog pound.
Where's the dog pound? It's over here, right?
To the east.
Right about
There you go.
back. Go to the
Back
west.
a little bit. The little small building with
Right
there.
there.
you
That's
go.
the dog pound. What
Okay.
I want to know is, go back to your first slide, Jim. Don't move it, but you showed the police station where the green barn is, and then a space, and then the public works building. And Fred said that you didn't do a lot of digging because of the time. You didn't do some boring right behind the old green shed I'd like to know if the public works building could fit, giving the property line to the east between that and that driveway down to that gray house, could giving the setback, start the DPW building there and abandon the police station over there. And don't shoot me yet. And because in this area, just to the north and just to the west of the dog pound, you only drug down about 13 feet, it said in your drawings.
Yeah, we got 13 feet of fill.
As you
north of
move
the
towards
dog
the
pound.
landfill behind the white barn or the old village barn, the newer of the two, you were down into the 20 and 23 feet deep. My question is, would we save enough if we put the PPW building where the green barn is, go by the setback on that east line and the Pine Street setback and try to fit it in there with very little, you're going to have some 13 feet digging over here by the dog pound I saw. And then would we save enough to buy a piece of property for a police station?
Yeah. I mean, to do a quick overlay, Joel, of the footprint of DPW onto this diagram, and we can send this out to you. But the back edge of the building is about twice the distance from the front edge of the old salt shed to the back edge of the dog pound. So if you take that dimension and double it, that takes us out to the back of the building. And then right now we also have the drive around, on the back of the building that we would have to account for as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So that, that takes us out over that bank, even further. Keep in mind that that's dropping off there behind the
Where they got some old culverts and stuff.
green garage.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm just wondering if that was the old one I used to remember. I remember the old landfill being up almost where where the Mount A baseball diamond is.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm wondering is if basically the landfill, if they took the old gravel bed and just started backfilling the gravel bed, just pushing it over the edge.
I know that the DPW staff, told me some stories about working on site, that they found cars where they put the old the scale house foundation in. They found mattresses between the dog pound and the new garage. I think stuff was sort of brought in all over the place. So.
What would be the possibility, Ian, if you could go to where the sand pit is now, where their sand pile is, the picture? What's the possibility of coming off that, Jim, and building the town barn between there and about where he's got his arrow there? About where the green is to the west, where it starts getting green?
Yeah.
From where this, Ian, stopping right about where they going to Mount Abe or going to the solar project. start your arrow right up there, but right about
Here.
that line right there, that green edge where you can see the sand begin to, from gray to green.
Just, no,
Oh,
keep coming to the east a
Right
little
there.
bit. Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Mhm.
No, not
Yeah.
there, right there. And what if, I know you didn't do any boring, but I know, as speaker said, that was Floyd Hall's pit, and then it was Busquet and the Havens pit for years. Bristol bought it from the Haven.
Well, Joel, are you thinking about building it at the same elevation as Pine Street or down at the salt shed elevation?
Kind of like both. Cutting that slope down a little, cutting
Two-story.
that slope down a little, but not going down to the, I guess maybe where the foundation would start is in the bottom of the pit. But I know that's probably about a 12-foot drop.
It's 25 actually.
Fix it, that much.
Yeah, it's a big drop.
So-
Joel.
So if that's 25 feet, that's the level that we would have to take out where the contaminated stuff is behind the old village barn.
Pretty close. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the cubic yards to take out and you figure a dump truck holds 14 yards, I think it's something like 1,200 dump trucks.
That was about as many trips they made when they buried the landfill,
It's a huge amount of stuff.
when they put that fill on top.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just was wondering what it would be from if you set the setback on the east property line. And I said, and if there's no police station there, we would save enough. Would we save enough in digging it all out by buying a piece of land in the village on West Street somewhere to put a police station? And not I'm worried two things: the police station, that the cost of digging that way over to there, and then jeopardizing $1 million and a half public works building, settling in unsuitable soils, kind of what has happened as we've seen in the village barn where the floor cracked and it settled. We don't see that in the village, the old gray barn. I think that soil there is pretty good. And almost to the dog pound probably is pretty good. And I just wonder what the footprint would look like over the top of that with the setback from the east line, the zoning setback, and then start the DPW building there.
John, I think my concern with that idea is if we do that, whatever we do, once we start doing with soils, we're still going to have to do the assessment. And if there is any hazardous materials in there, we're going to have to remediate it, no matter which spot you pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you won't be able to really pull off well, you might be able to pull off a phasing plan because at that point you might be able to leave the newer garage standing until you finished. So there at least be some structure there, but it would be a little bit of a difficult phasing plan. The only other thought that I had on this, and this is kind of a real compromise, is if right now we're looking at 7 or 8 brand new bays and an office bay in the new building, and a much deeper building. I mean, these buildings are 40 feet deep, and we're trying to make them 60. The new building's 60 feet deep. If it was possible to maybe downsize the program and only build brand new larger bays for, say, the four highway trucks, and maybe do some upgrades to the existing town building on the right, the older building, and leave that in place and not touch it.
The green building, Fred?
The green building.
Leave that in place?
Yeah, and this is Steve.
Or Steve, I'm sorry.
And build a smaller brand new building that, the trucks can fit in, you can get up underneath them to do service. There'd be a new office area with a break room. And we haven't sketched this out. Haven't really looked to see whether this works or not, but it would be in the location you're talking about, Joel, where it would be just to the left of the older green garage. And we might be able to just concentrate the Geopier exercise right there, but with a much reduced, new building program. And we might go into the older building and do some upgrades, fix some of the code issues and put a new roof on, not, maybe it doesn't need a new roof, but maybe new siding and new doors and
Insulation.
well, the insulation's also not too bad, actually. I was kind of surprised.
What are the options in terms of other locations? You talked about the gravel pit maybe not being ideal. Are there any others that would be more suitable?
That we own?
Yeah.
I don't know of any other plot of land we own that would be big enough to accommodate.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I
obviously,
do where there's land that would accommodate it.
I guess, and then you always run into the possibility, if we're 2 miles away at another garage, does the sand pit stay there? Does the loader stay there? Do we need 2 loaders, for one for the garage? And, I know New Haven had that problem when they had a pit in Bristol and they had a sand pile in New Haven. They ended up owning 2 loaders, and that's always another question you always have to answer.
right, all your stockpiles and your salt shed are now remote from your main operations.
Right.
Well, there wouldn't be any reason why the loader couldn't live in that
You're right.
lean off side of the salt shed.
I'd like to see just if you could pull off the zoning, whatever the setback is on that east line and the setback in the center of the road of Pine Street, and see what if to your Steve is maybe the building from a 60-footer down to a 50-foot wide, and maybe at 1 extra bay then to accommodate that on the end, and where would that go into that 13 feet of boring?
Steve, could you, or whoever is on control of the screen here, could you flip back to our overall plan there?
Yeah, I'll stop sharing and Steve we can
Page 4.
reshare.
In my conversation with Eric last week, he threw out the idea of land near the rescue squad as a possibility.
I think somebody else was thinking that spot.
Well,
You mean the green lawn between the road?
that's their septic.
That's their septic.
Steve, what I was asking for, if you could go to our bottom of fill elevations markup. Yeah, take that and paste it onto the.
Yeah, my computer might have frozen here. Hold on a sec.
Because we can look perhaps on the screen of what that overlay looks like.
Hold on just a minute. So we did find when we were out there that this corner of the police station kind of almost sat in the middle of the rec path. Part of what we would need to confirm when we did a real survey and staked out the real building locations, but when we did a rough measurement of it, the police station really needs to move to the west in this diagram anyway. So
Is that police station or that corner of that building meeting the setbacks?
it meets the setbacks, but it's right in the middle of the rec path, which we want to maintain.
Correct, but I mean, what's that setback? 15 feet?
Yes, I believe that's correct. And there's a big ditch, Joel, between the property line
Correct,
and the.
yep. That could be filled in though and graded and kept at 15 feet.
Yeah, it would require some work. Yeah.
So Joel, here we've got the overlay of the DPW footprint on the police location.
Okay.
And Steve, does that front setback from Pine Street now work, or can you bring it that far to the south?
Well, let me just jump back here.
I mean, we need enough room to be able to back the trucks out without being in the road.
Yeah, I mean, this is where the current garage front is located. It's pretty close to the setback line, which I think is here. And again, there's even a question as to whether or not, once you get onto the property, whether the setback even applies. So it's a little bit hard.
Yeah. But here, Joel, you can see how close we're getting to that back slope.
Yeah.
The north slope.
Yeah. But that northwest corner of the Public Works garage, it's covering up one of those drill sites. What was that, 13 feet there?
Yep, that was B4. That was 13 feet.
Yeah.
And then it runs to 2021 over there at B3. So it's, it's getting greater as you go to the northwest.
We also have the original test bits done for the septic system here, and sort of in the middle of the site, these averaged around 7 feet.
Could part of this program be broken off and moved down to in addition to the salt shed?
Are you asking us that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I'm fishing for ways to reduce, the size of that building and have the, the program elements at least on the same piece of property.
Yep.
So I'm just going to throw this out here since we're brainstorming. Can we do a 2-story? I mean, if you're putting it down by where the salt shed is, can you put the garage on the bottom and the, office or whatever on the above?
The office can go on a second floor. It's tough to put it on a second floor over a truck bay because they're pretty high. Right now we've got storage over the office here in the new building, which is a efficient use of that vertical section.
Right.
This is just a snapshot of 4 bays with some backspace, which might be offices and some other functions, next to the original garage.
Steve or Jim, are you more concerned when you say the unsuitable soils, compounding that with the weight of the trucks? So if you took that, I'm looking at a 9,950 square feet of public works with the office and the indentation on the east line. What if you put that in a mirror and put that on the west line? You don't have any truck weight on that. I realize you still have to dig that out, but is that your more concern of the truck weight?
I think
4 big bays starting on the east line where the old green line, where the old green building was. I'm calling
that gets back in. I think that gets back into the question, Joel, of the assumptions that were made for the Geopiers. The job that we did up in Stowe actually had trucks on the floor slab. So the design took into account those trucks. How that might be reduced if, the actual loading on the slab were reduced. I'm sure there would be a savings, but I'm not sure that it would warrant, the compromise that you'd be making to your overall plan.
Right.
And Jim, it's Fred here. Remember, we still had 2 buildings. So we had the garage and then we just had the 2-story office building, the office building, and that had Geopiers under it also.
Fred or the team, Bread Loaf team, question here for you. If you found suitable soils where the green garage is and where that 13 is, I realize that's got to come out. Or let's say the last 2 bays of this garage or the last part of the north side, can those geo things that you drive into the ground, can they be, once you start them, do you have to do the entire footprint or you just got to do the bad soil?
That's a real good question. I mean, off the top of my head, I would say that we'd deal with it similar to how we like build where we encounter ledge, and we got, you know, a building sitting on ledge direct, and we got a building sitting on, you know, soils. Generally, we try to avoid that. I guess I would want to have a conversation about perhaps putting, you know, a movement joint through the building to allow for differential settlement between the two. But I'm just talking off the top of my head, Joel.
Yeah. I mean, that 13 feet is about, I would think, I don't know what Picker thinks, but I would think that's about as much as we'd want to have to move and not do 13 feet, that whole structure, that whole 9,000, almost 10,000 square feet. You know, if we had to do a couple of thousand feet on that northwest corner, could that be doable?
Yeah, I know that the
Estimates to that versus 600,000 doing it all and putting a police station there. I think the money we save, we could buy a piece of land on West Street somewhere and build a police station.
You know, Joel, Jim, I don't, you know, I did just for comparison's sakes, when I did the estimate, there's actually line items within that estimate that had the rough costs for the Geopiers that were underneath the police station. It was underneath.
I can hear you, Fred, again. You're breaking up.
Oh, sorry about that. So in the estimate, who's got the screen now?
Steve.
If you go to the, you know, the estimate piece, I don't remember.
Yeah, hold on a second.
Last page.
That one, yeah. And then, you know, I could, so I did this by, so if you just look at my calculator here.
They're right here, Fred.
Yeah, right, yeah, but so we've got the PD undercut at 33,000 plus the PD Geopiers at like 63,000. That's 96,000.
17 GPs under the PD at 62. And
Yeah.
159,000 under the.
Right. So, you know, just to give you an idea, maybe there's 90 or 100 grand worth of Geopier underneath the PD department.
Yeah.
Just to get, you know, it's, you know, that's rough, but
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
you know, just to put if this worked out perfect, that means you got 100 grand to buy a piece of land, I guess. Was that to put a police department on? But if the Geopiers get lesser in depth because we move the building over, we wouldn't be at, I figured we've got an average 17-foot long Geopier, Joel.
Joel, that 17 is the depth of the pier. It's not the quantity.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So the shallower they go, the ones on Stowe were 13 feet. And they were down, I go from memory, I think they cost us down around $12 a square foot.
Okay.
So getting shallower is better, obviously. I mean,
yeah.
Not sure we're coming up with the solution tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah. But I think, you know, I kind of still come back around to the notion of really thinking about the phase one environmental. And I think Valerie's point about whether or not it could qualify for brownfield funding is, you know, a good question to try and address.
Jim, oh, did I unmute or not?
Yeah, we can hear you, Fred.
Okay, yeah, I just did something with my screen. So just from a curiosity standpoint, if the town went on with a phase 1 environmental, and obviously it's awesome if we find, assuming we find something, and that something though is below the 5 foot we need to cut off to get the Geopiers started, could we build a building on top of it and not take it out?
You know, I don't know. I can't answer that. I know when we encountered stuff at a local dry cleaning place here in town, the state required it all be hauled off to Canada and disposed of.
I remember
so I
that.
think it would depend upon the material.
Yeah, I remember that job.
I guess I have a question for the entire group, and Valerie, for you also. When we talk about brownfields, is the state or federal going to care it's 13 feet into the ground, buried solid, not, I can't say for sure, not polluting any groundwater, landfill below it? Are we ever think we're ever going to get any funds to remove it?
I think it depends on what the phase 1 environmental reveals and the toxicity, perhaps, the potential hazardous content of the material and the disposal of it. I think that's probably what they would focus on.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the phase 1 is a pretty cursory review, isn't it? I mean,
Right.
typically that usually has to point to a phase 2, which is where the rail work gets done.
That's right.
And I know that the geotech also mentioned that, and I think we mentioned this even when we proposed to do this mini study, is that there would need to be quite a few more borings done, just, you know, as Jim said, to solidify how the pier system might work, or even to solidify how the geotechnical engineer wanted to approach this. So there probably would be quite a few more borings done here before things are over, for both environmental reasons and for geotechnical engineering.
So what does the select board want to do at this point? Sit and ponder for a while?
I would like to see us get a few more borings. What I'm looking at right now around in that area, whether he has to bore right in front of the doors or go into the green shed, drill a hole and bore inside the green shed and see what's under there and behind it. And I'd like to concentrate on a 10,000 square foot building right about where I see now, meeting the 2 setbacks, and see what the borings come up with. It may go from 13 down to 0 up in that corner where the water comes in towards, that would be the southeast corner of that building there now, towards Pine Street and the footpath.
Yeah.
I also recommend that we initiate a phase 1 environmental and get that going. I think it'll be useful to have that information no matter what we do.
Yep.
Now what we know about the subsurface material.
What's the cost on that, Valerie?
I've only done one other, and as Steve said, it's at the phase 1 is a cursory review, so a lot of it's tabletop stuff and doing archival research, and what they do is they identify whether they think a phase 2 is warranted. So my guess is it'd be less than $5,000.
And then I guess my last question there would be, once they found something, would they, even though we weren't, let's say we tear down the old gray building eventually and we build right here where I'm seeing now, and they say, well, we want it all gone. Does it all have to go? What's in the ground? Michelle is shaking her head yes at me.
My guess is that once they find something, if they tell you got to remove it, you got to remediate it wherever you're going to be putting something.
What, or just what you disturb? That's what I'm.
Anything, right? Anything you disturb,
Right.
which is always bigger than the footprint.
Correct. But we don't have to go down 26 feet where B2 is and 21 feet where B3, and don't have to dig all that because we're not disturbing that.
Well, if we got to put in the stabilization, we may be disturbing that.
I thought that was going more over towards the back of the.
Yeah, but you're still in that same area. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
that's a good
we
question,
Still maybe
yeah.
disturbing area, so.
Yeah, I would argue we're just disturbing the material at grade and lessening the erosion of that slope, which would be an improvement.
So can I ask a question? Because I just don't, I don't have the building background that any of you folks have. And I'm just curious to know, is it because of the weight of the vehicles that'll be in the building that would require all of the stabilization? If we were to use this property for another purpose, would we be facing the same to build on? Would we be facing the same sort of situation?
I believe you would.
The police department building is a pretty lightweight building. That's more residential in construction. So, and it has pretty much the same issues. I mean, we're anticipating we would have to put Geopiers under the police station as well.
Okay, thank you.
Speaker, Ian? You're both at a loss for words.
I am not lost for words, but I'm not using my words here. Trust me, I am not lost for words.
In terms of maneuvering in and out of the building, Joel, if we maintain the same traffic flow you have now, I'm assuming that's acceptable.
It's not perfect. Let's put it that way.
I know that some of the staff would prefer to have the building back further. If the building was all over here, then theoretically your Saturday trash collection might be able to happen out here and not block the doors, which was a concern we talked about last time. You know, there might be enough room out here to have that operation kind of circulate, you know, beyond the building. And at that point, when you're backing in and out of the building, you're only potentially blocking traffic, you know, momentarily, and it's mostly just traffic that these guys are generating. Aside from Saturday and the occasional truck going down to maintain the solar panels, there shouldn't really be much cross traffic through here. You will have some folks, you know, trying to park to use the rec path, but
You originally had traffic all the way around the backside of that. You've got a door in that.
yes, there was a door to come in this end and a door to come in this end when it was here. And we were also placing the diesel refueling station back here, so that wouldn't be up against the road. I think if this got moved over, however, we could probably find a spot, you know, back here for that to happen and still be accessed. This back bay here would likely only be able to be accessed from the back. You might have a side door here that a small vehicle could get into.
Yeah, their goal there was to be able to get everything out without having to move anything, right?
Correct. Yeah.
It seems like, you know, because of the findings of the site, there's a lot of compromise that we're discussing tonight with the building, which seems like a shame. You know, it's still going to be a great deal of money to sort of to redo this building, to do a new building. Even more so, looking at the positions that we originally, that the Breadloaf team has proposed. And I think, I don't know, it seems, I don't know if it's the right direction. I like Joel's suggestion, but it seems like we're having to downsize to fit our not so great site, which I don't know, is that a good direction to go in, or is it better to look elsewhere, even if it means perhaps the town purchasing a piece of land, which I know isn't ideal, but you might have a much more solid foundation to start on. And I don't know where that would be, but I would like to see more thought put into that. You know, there was talk of sort of where the rescue squad is in that position in terms of the road there. That's a larger road than Pine Street, obviously, but I don't know what our options are for that. But it's also something that, looking at the cost of things, if we go this direction, trying to fit these new buildings to this particular site, it may cost us more, the same or more, than actually purchasing new land and being able to build.
What were those two numbers again? The fill number was 6 and the
Bill number was 638 or 698.
The Geopier option was 400,000, and that was for the DPW, the DPW apron at the front of the building and the police station.
So that's just your subsoil work. You haven't even put your foundation in yet. Your
Correct.
foundation,
Yep.
Your foundation goes on top of that. So
Exactly. Yep.
So you've got a minimum of $400,000 that we're looking at right now to buy a piece of property.
Piece of property. Mhm.
Yep.
Right.
So
Yep.
Jim,
Les, go ahead, Fred.
yeah, John, you're exactly right. This is the cost to get ready to start foundations.
And
So-
then anything you do beyond that, you're recommending if we don't do out beyond the buildings, then we don't pave it.
Right. You just gravel paving.
So it's cost plus on everything beyond the building if we want pavement and or concrete or whatever.
Yeah. The only other issue to take into account, you know, in buying a new piece of land would be in looking at the land, what would need to go into it for, you know, development for access, utilities, and so forth.
Well, access, utilities, stormwater. Yeah, you're going to
Yep.
have to do everything, but we're not out of the woods with stormwater here yet either. I mean,
Right.
you had a plan for the backside of the building, but we haven't done what was the study we did on the solar field, or we didn't have to do on the solar field?
But we will have to do here. Right.
The stormwater.
Right. The
Yeah.
stormwater.
Yeah, you might be under the acre cutoff with this development.
Huh.
It's just a question of, and we were anticipating with the issues on the north side of the site that we would be putting in some retention and some treatment anyway, just so that we weren't, you know, dumping all the water off on the backside of the building and eroding the bank away.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, so can we go back to, can I share the map again? Let's see if I can do that. Where are we? Is that it? There. All right. So we have the rescue squad. Someone mentioned. I think it was Peter. You talked about that, right?
No, wasn't me.
No, Eric
It was-
did. Eric.
So do we own land here or not?
No.
Oh, okay.
Rescue squad's private.
Oh, okay.
I do know who owns the land, and I do know that it can be bought.
I'm sure you do.
I mean, but so what are the options here in terms of, is there potential here? I mean,
The only
the land.
the only potential there would be going in Bittersweet Ridge, that driveway beyond the rescue squad and going out and back of the rescue squad.
Back here.
Either in that open field or there's a 2-acre lot to the north as well behind Champlain Valley.
Okay.
You really
I
think
think-
your parents wants the DPW right next to their back door?
I don't know. The other option in that area would be off of Plank Road.
Plank Road.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is property down on Hewitt Road, South Bristol area that's for sale too, or could be bought.
Because given the numbers that we've seen, I think it's worth looking at the potential to buying, because it also allows us to take a step back, look at the bigger picture in terms of traffic flow and just the amount of vehicles that the town has, and is there a better location? We're used to knowing it at the location that it's at now, but it's worthwhile, looking at these other locations, even if we had to buy land, given that the numbers that we've seen tonight. Like, it would make sense to do that, to me anyway.
How much land do you figure we would need to put this facility on comfortably and have room? I won't say room to grow, but to have room.
Are we looking at both programs as we were originally, or just the DPW?
I would say, just for conversation's sake, we look at both. Because if we're going to buy a piece of land, we should buy it big enough to accommodate both. And then becomes the issue, it has to be in the district, which Plank Road is.
Yeah.
Would it need to also include the salt shed?
I don't believe so. I don't see why we wouldn't keep our sand and our salt right there. The building's built. I would think that the loader will start if it's plugged in the shed off to the side. Our sand and our salt's there.
Eric also said that if the facility does move to another location and the salt shed stays where it is, that we would need to insulate the addition on the salt shed and keep the loader there.
Yeah, there was some work that we were going to do to winterize it to allow him to put his cold patch in there and keep it warm and create his brine in a warmer building.
Right.
I know that the school system's off looking for a lot of money right now. We could ask Mount Abe if they're willing to sell us a little chunk. I know somebody on the school board.
They don't have enough land as it is right now.
Steve or Fred, do you know off the top of your head what the area was that was?
No, I was gonna take a shot at doing a quick little takeoff while we're chatting here.
Okay.
I might be able to pull that off.
And what about, so we're looking at Plank, what about where the fire department is? I know that, we have some of this land, the rest is going to be developed. Any potential there?
It's all owned by Kevin.
Right.
I mean, if that was something we were going to do, we should have. Well, we actually, Ian, had the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we didn't know what was under the ground and under where we are now. So,
right. Yeah.
Hewitt Road's not in the district, right?
No.
What? No.
Ian, could you take us at Breadloaf to the Plank Road location that you're thinking about?
So that's here, right,
Yeah.
Beaker?
So just so you know, Jen told me the district ends at Christine's house, so.
Before
Yeah.
Christine.
So we just have to make sure.
It's the old Plank Road down to just beyond the apartment house there. There's a great big rock in the swale.
He's in it, Joel.
It was the 5 acres that there was 5 acres there in the district. There's 5 acres that the town negotiated to buy back when they were going to build the fire station there, and then walked away.
Okay.
So basically it comes from, you got to come down just a little bit, Ian, so I can see it. I can tell you where the line is the other way.
Right
The other-
Towards
the
North
other
Street.
Yeah, so I can see North Street. All right, so you got you got Shepherd's property, and then there's that white roof right there.
Yep.
If you come straight off that white roof, straight down, that's the old Plank Road, came down through there. And then where the trees are just beyond the apartment house. So that square there is all in the district. If you were
You're talking the square where his pointer is?
No.
No, you're talking down on Plank. Okay.
Yep, from if you follow a straight line from where you can see that white roof.
The white roof, like you're talking about your old house or on the east side of Plank Road?
On North Street.
Okay, so that white house there. Okay.
So here.
Yeah,
down to.
goes out
it's
to
around
about there.
Yeah,
here. Okay.
yep.
Okay.
Does Plank Road have utilities run down through there?
Yes.
Speaker, I
Yeah,
asked you
I mean, go ahead, Joel.
if we moved off site, just DPW, would we have land enough over there to build a police station on the end of Pine? Where it was designed by Brettloff.
Yeah, but we're still having to put in the piers.
Yeah, seems like even with the police station being the less weight, we're still going to need that support.
Right.
I mean, I have to agree with Ian. I think we need to take a step back and look at this again. I mean,
I don't, and we need to look to see if there's any other property. I just know that property's available.
Which is good. I mean, I think that's the way we need to look at it. Sort of just maybe we sort of take a crack at a bunch of suggestions, and then go from there. You know, we have the numbers down. We know, and we can. I think we can safely say that the numbers are going to be much higher, especially if we get the environmental report in, and if it goes to a second stage. You know, if what they found already continues to be there at a much greater level, I can imagine that it would all need to be removed and taken somewhere else, which will just continue to add money. Like, it seems like it's just a money sink. Literally, the landfill is a money sink. So
it's our money landfill pit.
It's our money pit. Exactly.
Room for more solar panels.
That's the new solar name, money pit.
Money pit. There you go.
I think
I'm coming up with.
I think Brettloff has done where they show that, if you want to go back to that print where it shows, if we put it in that corner, a few more $1,000, we could at least study what the cost appears up in that corner will be, if any, before we kick it to the curb.
I don't think we're kicking it to the curb yet. I just think we need to we're all saying, let's just take a step back.
I want to
and
look at all the
reevaluate.
options, but I'd like to know a number for if we just abandoned a police station over there. I say over there, I don't mean abandoned a police station, but just one over there. And it just what it would cost for DPW over there, up in that corner. I don't, we're not talking 24 feet to take out. We're talking possibly 13 and a few feet. And as it gets less taking out, as it gets going east. And I'd like to know what that cost is, if we could get that from Jim and the crew.
Once you open it up, though, if you find something that you know how it is, you bore here and you move over 5 feet and you hit that car, and underneath that car was a mattress. Underneath that mattress was a who knows what.
We may find Jimmy Hoffa too. So
yeah.
That's one of the problems with Geopiers is that obviously you can't drill everywhere, and as you're putting them in, you'll hit something and you'll have to move a pier. You'll have to keep drilling, in some direction until you clear it, or you have to dig down and remove it. So it has some risks. It's not obviously risks free. Just so you know, I came up with about 38,000 square feet, just just using our original combined DPW and police station layout, and just taking the parking area and the buildings together, and it was 38,000 square feet.
So just
38,000 square feet of what that you would have to take out?
No. This is
a land area
footprint.
If you're looking for another site,
yeah,
to put both buildings on.
So just shy of an acre.
Just shy of an acre. Yeah.
But is that just for the buildings?
No, that's buildings and circulation.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
That doesn't include. I didn't add Pine Street to it. It's just the pavement up to Pine Street.
Yeah.
Okay. So an acre or two gives us obviously lots of expansion space if ever needed. Joel, I agree with you that I think further study might be warranted. My only concern with that would just be, again, with the compromise, like trying to fit and trying to downsize what what we've got all the feedback from the DP, the works crew and us in terms of what we'd really like to see if we're spending this money and having to sort of downsize and compromise to fit the site to hopefully make it cheaper. I don't know. I'm not too excited about that direction, just because I know it's probably won't reveal what we want it to reveal.
I just hate throwing more money out, good money to bad,
Right.
because that's what I'm afraid of.
Another question for Breadloaf. If we go to a site that's not restrictive as far as how you build the building, is there a cheaper way to give us that square footage? I mean, is that the building we're going to build on a different site?
I don't know as it would really change that much. It's a pretty efficient structure as it stands right now.
Okay.
And the same for the police department. And we've built a couple of these police departments, and I think we've kind of gotten that down to a pretty efficient layout.
Okay.
I just didn't
All right.
know. I just didn't know if there was something in the public works building that you did to fit the site that might change things.
No, I don't think it really. If there was enough room, assuming that the soils were good, that the layout wasn't really driving the building too much.
Okay.
But I'd like to see if you're going on a site, and I asked for it one of the first meetings, and I can see you just can't do it with the present site we're on, but if we could have the roof slant to the south and put solar panels on it and enter the building from the north.
Yeah, there's obviously those kind of considerations are much more flexible on a site.
On an open site.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so at this point, it sounds like we're going to take a step back, reevaluate, discuss, and maybe look at other sites, and then get back with Breadloaf.
Yeah. Ian, could you run up that site one more time? The aerial view of the town garage.
No, Jolie.
Okay, I'm done.
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know anything about it. I just.
So Michelle, to be clear, at this point, we're just going to go on hold, and we won't look at obtaining a proposal for additional borings around the green shed. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that's what we have decided at this point for now.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Joel, did you want to see that site for something?
Yeah,
You got about 5 minutes. Now you
less
need to
than
move
that.
on.
Less
Okay,
than that.
We got budgets to do.
Yes.
Ian, put your cursor right as you go down into the sand pit. Right about, no, as you go down at the top of the hill.
Up higher.
Up higher.
At the top of the hill.
What if it went right there, across there, and you made the access road into the pit somewhere else?
Boy, don't you have a huge drop right there?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of grade change there that's not really evident.
That's part of your 25-foot grade change down to the salt shed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good suggestion, Joel, but again, we'd have to deal with grading around the building. It'd be bringing in fill as opposed to.
And we don't really even know what the soils are right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Being history, I know there's no gravel pit. There's no landfill under there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more than likely
You said they pulled mattresses out of the scale house.
car
You're not gonna get
car
60 feet
foundations anyway.
DNL.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm done.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good
Good night.
Okay, moving on. Budget workshop. That means you're up, Jen. You or Val or whoever's going to share the screen.
Jen has been made a co-host, so she can do that.
All right, I gotta readjust here.
Wake up, Jen. Wake up.
I know. You guys are killing me there for a little bit, not gonna lie. Trying to be. Where am I? Zoom. Okay. Share screen. I want to Which one do I want to do?
Don't do what you were watching before we
I
got
know, I know. I think it's this one. Yeah, I think that's the one I want.
Is this your combined one, Jen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I just need to. Okay. So we're general fund. Let me get to the top of the page because that tag isn't right. Okay. We haven't done our revenues yet. So I highlighted everything in yellow that we definitely needed to fill in at least tonight. So start
So
right at,
H is the new year, G is the current year, right?
correct. Oh, sorry. I thought there
Yeah,
were
we're missing
titles on
that
there.
top.
Maybe I forgot to add those. Sorry about that.
Well, when I was looking at this Sunday, I was like, I think I know which year is which, but
Sorry about that. I thought I
Did
added
the same thing. I'm
maybe
like,
they were in the expenses and not in the revenues.
Well, you
so
could
the
just,
current year for like National Forest Payment and Current Use Program, are they the same year we have their July 1 to June 30, or are they a calendar year?
Right. No, they're the same.
Okay. So we haven't gotten those payments yet.
Right. I think we just got the current use payment the other day, but I have to look.
you could do a quick copy and paste from line 43 for the years if you want.
Okay. Let me just get down there. 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 Thank you.
Phew. All right.
That's just the way I would have done it.
of course it is.
Solved the Zoom problem earlier. I was worried I stepped on your toes there.
The fact that you would have gotten to Excel would have impressed me, Beaker.
So can these could just be the same as 21?
I mean, they can't. That's all. These are all state.
Okay.
I was going to say, you already kind of know what they're going to be.
Right.
All right. Plug them in. We got a lot of
Plug 'em
yellow to
in.
fill.
We said 14. We upped this one last year. I don't.
We dropped that one. And I'm assuming that's because there's been land taken out.
Go down. Oops. I think it's
Hang
going
on.
to go down again. But
What is the current use program?
so
That's the program where the farmers and that put it in the current use and the state pays a certain portion of the taxes. So if anybody, if they can take it out, it comes out of what the town gets. If they put it in, we get more. So it just depends. That can fluctuate.
So liquor licenses, I think we can assume that they're not going to be what they were. Looking at our actual versus what we projected.
well, because they don't renew until now.
Oh, okay.
Like they're January. That's a calendar year renewal, and they have to be renewed by April. So it's how many restaurants now that have a liquor license that we think are going to renew for the year. So that number is a little bit skewed looking at the moment because people haven't submitted
Okay.
new licenses.
Are we okay putting it as the same as 21 then?
I would put it in as 1,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 1,000 is good because I don't know if the Bristol Cliffs Cafe, I always want to say the bakery, I don't know if they still are doing a liquor license because
They didn't do when we did events, when we could do events with Core, they tended not to use a liquor license only on certain occasions. So probably not.
And I'm pretty sure I sent them their new application, but almost is gone, so we don't have them anymore.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
That's right.
And then I don't know how, like, what covers will do either.
Right.
And Hatch.
Right.
Yeah,
And will
Hatch.
Hatch come?
Yeah.
They've been sent their new applications, but I haven't gotten anything back.
Yeah. Dog licenses seems like we're always under. Do we want to put that down, or is there a reason why that's a certain?
Well, the year before we were over.
Oh, that's true. By quite a lot.
Yeah, and I think this last year, because people couldn't come in, a lot of them just didn't do it, even though
Okay.
notices, and they just didn't like doing it.
100 on it, 2,000? Should we? Drop it.
Sorry, say that again, Joel. I couldn't hear you.
2,000?
2,000 is what you want to drop it to?
Try to be.
So
And if we're over, it's happy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So fines.
Yes and no, because it just means we have to raise more by taxes.
Right.
Right.
Not if it's less, well, yeah.
Right, because it doesn't help. It doesn't change the tax rate if you go over. It only is what you budget.
Gotcha.
Maybe a lot more people are going to have dogs in the next year.
A lot more people do have dogs.
Do have dogs.
We just have to get them to register them.
Right.
That's
Adoptions are way up.
true. Oh, interesting.
Isn't there a process we're supposed to go through as far as dogs? Are we supposed to do some sort of survey or?
I mean, if
Census.
you really wanted to
Census
push
or-
it, you could do a dog census. I think I went to something once where they tried to get someone to go door to door and knock to see if
See if they got.
Dog.
had dogs, and then tried to get them to register the dogs. And,
Yeah, who's willing to do that?
not me.
Me either.
No. I've done
Keep
actual
yourself-
census work. I don't want to do dog census work.
I would say let's leave the fines at 300.
Yeah.
Police fines.
Look at our police fines this year. Good Lord.
Wow.
I think we could up
I
that.
have to look at that, so don't.
I was going to say that's a huge jump.
Wow.
Yeah, but look at
What's-
Who are
19.
you finding?
I know. What's Bruce and crew doing?
Really?
Considering it was just Bruce most of the year.
Look at 19. Look at 19, and
You need to
would we go to 4,000?
You need to understand that's just the town patrols too.
Right.
Right.
Oh, wow.
That's
Wow.
not because we pay, we get the fines back.
Ah,
Mhm.
Up to what
A
we
certain amount.
pay. Up to $10,000 or
Yeah.
$12,000, whatever. Yeah.
Right.
10 is what I think you're.
do you want to leave it at 35, or like it seems like the previous years we've
I think
actually
we
been
could go to
over?
4.
Go to 4.
Go
Yeah.
to 4.
Safely.
Mm-hmm. Here, we just made up that $500 we took away.
What about your fees, Sharon? I mean, this has been a bomber of a year.
Yeah. Seriously.
Killer.
We budgeted 36. We're almost there.
We still
Yeah, we still have another 6 months.
Yeah. And I still have quite a few filings to do, so, and they're still coming in rampant, so.
Wow.
Yeah, but the question is once COVID kind of settles down, is this all gonna?
Yeah.
Good.
Leave it at 36, or
So you could level it to see,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd level it.
but I mean, even, I don't know.
But she was still over the year before. The next
Yeah.
2 previous years,
Yeah.
she was over.
38.
Okay, listen to
Done.
Peter.
I like it.
Pressure's on, Sharon.
Oh, no. Well, I think we're going to see more for
Mhm.
system too, because people are starting to use that more now that once we get more stuff indexed,
Yeah.
That's true.
we'll have less people coming in. They'll be doing more online.
Hey.
DMV always seems much less.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you can do them online now.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but we still have people who come in because they don't have computers and they don't like doing it online.
Yeah.
Or leave it at 450 then?
I might knock it to 4.
400? 350?
400.
It was only 3 last year.
I was just gonna say I would do 3 because it's only
Okay.
$3 for someone to come do that. So that means
Right.
you're hoping 100
Yeah.
people
450.
come in the door in a year.
Yeah. Okay. So 3.
Okay. 300. Zoning fees, you want to leave it at 9?
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
so.
I don't know how that's gonna work this year with the new unified regs, but
Right.
it's
Right.
gonna be a learning year.
Right.
9 sounds
I think-
good.
I'll leave it at 9.
Yeah, they're
We don't do the treasurer fees anymore, right?
right.
Okay.
Don't have that anymore. And then insurance claim is just that's where that 3,600 is for the salt shed.
Okay.
That's in there right now.
Okay, library insurance reimbursement, is that a number that you will get, that you'll have?
This can go up because Nancy never took health insurance and the new librarian takes health insurance. So we get
Okay.
reimbursed for health insurance and
Long-term, short-term?
short-term, long-term disability. I was trying to remember.
And where does the liability part come in? Is that a different of the budget?
We cover the liability on the building because we own the building.
So is that 4,100 just half a year?
Trying to remember what I billed her for.
Well, you couldn't have billed her for more than half a year, could you? Well, you could have, I guess.
No, I'm just trying to remember
Because-
if I included.
She didn't start till August, did she?
No, short-term, well, she started July 1st, but short-term, long-term, we just barely got her on there and I'm
Okay,
waiting for
So
the,
then that's
what
just
they'll charge her.
for half a year.
Yeah.
So was that is that a number, Jen, that you and Sharon can come up with and put in there?
Yeah, actually, we
Okay.
can.
All right. Act 60 reimbursements,
I'm gonna leave it.
Leave it at 16.
Okay.
what would you get Act 60 reimbursements for?
See. I guess
Yeah, what are those?
Act 60 is
Isn't that the
for
school stuff?
governmental buildings, maybe.
Okay.
I'd have to look into my email. We just got an email from PVNR. Some of it is for
State land? Jen,
go ahead.
is that for state land? Reimbursement for Act 60 state land?
So it's like, yeah, I think Act 60 is the state lands and buildings and the offset of taxes that you get
Okay.
for those things.
That's the Equal Education Opportunity Act.
Maybe not.
According to Google.
Well, whatever, we're leaving it at 1,600.
Yeah.
Okay, interest. Is that interest on what? Like interest on bank accounts and that, Jen? Is that
Yeah.
what that interest line is? Okay. So we leave it at what? Well, we were 1,000 last. We up this to like 800.
Well,
Yeah.
the current budget is 500.
Yeah, but they've been 1,000 for the past 2 years.
Yeah, but look what it is now.
Only 185.
I wouldn't go much more than 400, 500 at the tops, what we did last year. Or
Okay,
present.
the last 2 years we went over 1,000. So why do you think we wouldn't get 1,000? I understand we're only at 185, but
We
Yeah,
spent
we're
a
halfway
lot-
through the year.
what was that, Jen?
that we've spent a lot more money.
Okay, so we don't have the money in
So we don't
to
have
get
as
those
much
interests.
money in
Okay,
to accrue as much interest.
okay.
Never had that problem before Ian and Darla come on.
All our fault.
Let me just go through the
Right
old
to the
town
heart,
reports.
Ian.
I'll prove you wrong.
Right to the heart.
Okay, parking permit fees. Leave that at 300. Is that for the, like, behind the park, winter parking permits that you get?
Right.
Okay.
I wonder if you should drop it to 250.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we're at
We're at
125 right now. We haven't had a ton of winter storms, but
We've issued 8 permits at $25 a piece. That's
right.
where we're at right now.
That's from January or just December?
That's
November-
for this snow season.
November, December.
Get them, but until they get towed or whatever, a lot of them try to do it.
Use their
Sneak it out, huh?
Yeah.
So that 125, so we could go 400 then, 300. That 125 is not.
250. We've
Let's
been
do
200,
yeah,
275.
I think you're right, Bigger. Do 250.
Yeah,
Mhm.
250.
Do that at 250 since we never know what we're getting there.
Oh, what this 505?
Yeah.
What's the 500 for?
I just was looking at. I just noticed that.
Is that supposed to be the FEMA grant?
It might be. I'd have to look. Oh no. That is, I know what that is. That's for when we get money from the state, the auditors wanted us to post it to a revenue and then distribute it later. So that's gonna go to a different part of the budget. There's just something there right now that needs.
I mean, the $505, the 518.
Yep, that $505.
505.
So it's not.
Just didn't give it a name.
Budget for.
They're both miscellaneous revenues.
Nope, it's just like we get.
It's a holding place.
Thank you. It's a holding place.
So FEMA grants, do we get that money every year?
No, not unless
Okay.
there's a declared.
Right. Okay.
Still waiting for a Halloween one, 2019.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we put that back down to 10? Jen, do you think you're going to
I
get up
think
to
we're
11
good because I think we dropped the
interest rate?
interest, right?
Yeah.
And the penalty.
This year.
Right. And we're going to be we're asking them to drop it again, just maybe not as much.
Mhm.
Okay. Penalty. And did we drop that more than we normally would have, Jen, the penalty?
Well, I
Or is
think
that-
they wanted it at 4. You wanted it at 6, right?
6.
So
So you think 12.5 is a good number?
probably. That's probably a good. All right. Let's keep going. All right, so Valerie filled in all those numbers. Let's see. So this can get deleted. I can do that. Delete that. There. And then health insurance to then.
I'd like to drop that number line 107 down to 20.
Do you think that's what
Reflects
it's?
the budget that was approved last July. That reflects what was approved then.
Right.
And actually, all these personnel figures represent what was approved in July.
I don't understand, but Valerie, we can't change that 22?
You'd be cutting his salary.
I was going to say you'd be taking it away from him.
But he finished the year only at 15.1.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
So I don't know how you'd be.
Cutting is, we're not writing him a check for that. We're paying him so much a week.
Well, he hasn't been putting in the hours then, but or billing for the hours.
Wait, he's salaried, but we're paying him less?
It's hourly.
Oh, it's
So-
hourly. Oh, okay.
Right. But that reflects what the budget approved in July.
Based on the hours we expected him to work.
Correct.
Right, but that's only until this coming July. We're talking, this number is for starting July to the next July.
Right, but if we've already got him working, say 20 hours a week and we've said his pay is going to be this, that's what the
Yeah.
budget comes out to, is the 22,000. We can't just say, okay, we're only giving you 20,000 now.
If we cut it and he puts in all the hours we expect him to work, we'll be short.
Right.
Right.
And he received an extra consideration because he took on the E911. Right. So that reflects that as well.
Okay.
Okay, Michelle had comments here.
I was going to say, doesn't this need to get removed?
So this is where it is gonna get expended from to then pay the police department.
As it becomes a revenue to the police department.
So it's playing in two different.
Oh, so it's coming out of here and then it'll go in the police department. Okay,
Yep.
got it. Okay,
Okay.
now I get it.
Yep.
Not that he wants it.
You guys can do whatever you'd like with this number, but I guess I can't remember if this was like for food and a kennel and things like that Bruce might need, but I can't.
I do remember us talking about that.
What does Bruce need? Can Bruce tell us now? He has a kennel or a whatever it's called. Cage.
But
thank you.
he may need food.
Yeah, we have the small kennel.
Oh, there's Bruce.
We have 2 small bags of dog food, which we bought ourselves.
Well, then you need to get reimbursed for that.
Yeah, well,
There's $500 in there. Well, actually, there's 1,000.
Yes.
we might need a couple more leashes, so I think that's where this
Okay.
would be for that.
Oh, I have a couple leashes I'll drop off for you.
Let's still leave the money instead of just
Yes.
donating to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What she didn't tell you, Bruce, was the dog's going to be hooked to the leash.
Yeah.
Well, I know
Sorry,
a couple of places I can bring dogs to. I know where some of you live.
I can't give
No,
up my
Bruce,
dogs.
no.
Great place.
And I'd love to be able to take them, but I don't think my dogs would get along.
Let's see.
Okay. So
Okay, so this was my question. Jen, you and I talked about this. I know this is a big sticking point for people in the police district. I'm wondering if we can just create the other people that are outside the police district that pay for this, so that the people in the police district aren't getting double charged or double billed or whatever.
the
Yeah.
easy answer to that is no. And
No, that's the wrong answer.
I know.
That's not the answer she liked, but Jen's absolutely right. You can't separate that.
Because
Why
the
can't you?
reason we can't is because of so like when you look at your tax bill and it lists out all the different things that create your tax rate, some of us have the one that says the police and some of us
Right.
don't. And
Right.
so that distinguishes who is and isn't in the district. So what we'd have to do for $12,000 is for all the people who aren't in the district, literally just go and charge them for $12,000, which would not even end up being a penny on their tax bill. Because it's just not enough of a budgetary item because it's only $12,000.
So then why do people make such a big deal out of this? If it's only like a penny on their tax bill?
Well, so the people
Because
in the
they don't.
district complain because they have to pay for it through the general fund
Right.
as well. Well, this is where I struggle a little bit, only because those people in the district do also get the $12,000 to offset
Right.
their police district tax, which Michelle, you and I don't get.
Right.
In Peaker.
Right.
So-
No, I get that.
So it's probably not penny for penny as far as being equal because there's more people in the whole town
Mhm.
pay
Right.
for the $12,000 than there is that reap the benefit of the $12,000 revenue.
Right. But so basically it's kind of a wash. It comes out of the general budget, but it comes as an income into the police budget.
That's
Right, but the issue people have with is they pay the police tax and then they also pay a town tax. So the people
Right.
in the village are paying their share of that $12,000, and it's not, you
but
know,
they're getting the
it's-
12,000 to reduce their police district tax is the way that I also
Right.
see it. I
right,
don't
but they're helping pay that $12,000.
Right. They
And
they
that's
are.
where
Mhm.
it's like you paying for a load of gravel up the top of the driveway that you don't use.
Yeah. No, I get that. I was just trying to figure out how to deal with it so that they wouldn't have that issue.
Pay for Ian and I and Darla pay for a grader that we don't ever use, but get your road graded, Michelle. It's the same thing. I get
I'm
what they're
glad your
saying.
road is graded.
Huh?
I'm glad her road is graded.
Right.
No, I get what you mean though.
We could just pave the road and then we all pay more for the pavement.
Oh boy. And then, well,
No, I get it. I was just trying to figure out a way so that it
I mean,
wouldn't.
the only other way to do it would be to send a bill for piddly money to each, that wasn't a part of their tax bill, to each non-district resident to say, here's what you
Yeah,
owe.
try collecting that, Jennifer.
Right? Well, that's the thing is,
Or you have the discussion about going town-wide.
right.
I
And then-
didn't bring this up for that discussion, so
That's
let's
not-
just
that's
stop
not
that
the
right here.
Moving along.
I knew that. I
Okay.
knew that would shut that down.
Right. No, it wasn't. It wasn't that I was trying to be difficult. What I was trying to do was help the
Yeah.
people in the district.
Right.
No, absolutely. I think it's a worthwhile thing to do. It's just, it sounds like it's incredibly complicated.
Right.
Michelle, we are helping the people in the district because if we don't give them don't charge the town $12,000, Bruce is still going to work every day, and the officers are going to come in at night.
Yeah.
The reason, let me give you a little history here. The reason that money goes to the district now is because we used to pay the sheriffs back when we hired the sheriffs. We used to pay them $10,000, and the village, the district residents paid for that as well. So it's not. It's a way of keeping the money in town and helping pay our police board.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So I just made a comment here that, Valerie, it looks like you considered this an hourly position, but it's actually a stipend position.
No, I look back. No, but that's the number that takes the stipend and applied. So Jen, do you think that number needs to be corrected? Or the comment is wrong? The comment is wrong, but what is the number accurate?
No, well, last year I got 54.92, and even if that were to stay level. Because it just splits, whatever the stipend is, it just splits over is that what I guess.
But it's because the hours changed, right?
But it's not an hourly position.
Right.
It's a stipend position. So we should just look at that to make sure that I guess I don't know what figure you use, so that's the only reason I just put that note in there to make sure that.
Yep.
You said.
What's the stipend position based on? It's just a certain number of hours?
Just that you do it for X amount of dollars rather than a certain number of hours a week.
Oh, okay.
Or a certain percentage of what we take in.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so you guys figure that one out.
So then once we figure out that, then we can add the FICA in for the 2 salaries. There. Listing, did you guys want to talk about this again?
Well, if we're at $7,000 halfway through the year,
But this is considering hiring an assessor and reducing those hours.
Because if you look
so that
down
was-
below, there's a $20,800 entry for professional fees.
Let me scroll down so you can see the whole budget.
Didn't we work this out last week?
yeah, I think we did.
Well,
No, we kind of had a discussion and we said, let's leave it for now because we're not sure what direction we're going.
Oh, okay. I remember
we-
talking about it.
And we weren't sure if 4,200, even with this assessor, was going to be enough.
Because that
the
Mark
budget.
had that calculated that would be one person, like 5 hours a week at $16 an hour, I think is what he.
Times 3.
But I think Joel was thinking, and I'm in agreement that I'm not sure that that's enough.
One
So-
person, 5 hours a week, that's it?
With an assessor being there 8. I think we hadn't really finalized anything, but I think the initial discussion had been from 8 to 16 hours a week.
At
So if we
25
end
hours
up
in all.
if we end up using the assessor less and our people more, we'll still have the money.
Right.
We'll actually, we should, because the assessor's more expensive than our employees.
Right.
Yeah, but what happens if we use the assessor for the amount we want and then we still need our people in there more? Then we're gonna be short,
And how does it work when,
It's
I'm
a
sorry.
learning year.
right?
right? So how does it work when you hire an assessor? Is it a contract and you'd say,
Yeah.
this is the amount what we're going to pay you for this work, or so that it doesn't matter then if we use them less, they're still going to get paid the same amount. Is that correct?
It would be hourly.
It would be hourly.
And
Okay.
they would bill according to how many hours they put in.
Although we might want to put in that contract not to exceed
Right.
without permission.
Right.
What the thought was like 8 to 16 hours, with 16
Mhm.
being the max. But I mean, a lot of things need to get worked out, so it's definitely going to be a learning curve. I'm just worried that
We don't have
Can
enough.
we just, what happens if we just put 6,000 in there for our people? And that way, if for some reason we ever used more, does it make sense to just have it there? If we don't use it, well,
It'll be undesignated fund balance. But like I told you last week, I'm nervous about where we're going to end up at the end of this budget.
yeah, I know.
All right, I just need to do quick calculation while I have it here.
Well, do you want to leave it at 4,200, Beaker? You think that's going to be enough?
I don't know. Like I said, I don't have a clue where we're going to end up with this whole budget. Oh, with the zoning budget. I
Right.
don't have a clue where we're going to the whole budget, but the
Right.
zoning budget, I'm not.
Really don't have a clue.
Yeah,
Okay.
Got it.
come on, Ian, you say it. You
I'm not
always
saying
know how to
anything.
do it.
No, I'll join you on the clueless boat because it's sort of there's such randomness from this year that we have to accommodate for.
Right.
Right.
I was just
Right.
giving you a chance to get a jab back. That's all.
No way.
You got to take it when you get the chance, because I dish
No.
it out.
No jabs tonight. We're in serious budget mode.
Okay, Howden Hall.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Is there any reason we can't leave these numbers where they're at?
Did we skip over the clerks?
Oh, did you need to talk? I mean, Valerie put in those figures.
Yeah.
So the only thing missing looks like is workers' comp. But other than that, I mean, do you have something else, Joel?
No, I snuck down and went all the way to the bottom. And if we don't change anything, Peter, back to your question, we're about $7,000 over last year's budget. Total general fund expenses.
Well, there's still some other things.
Yeah, we still got to fill in some other stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Howden you could probably keep. I mean,
Level.
if you level funded everything, you could reduce, but the idea is that it would get back to what it was being used as.
So
That's-
question on
that's
the
gonna take a
electricity
while.
though. Look at the electricity. Did we only do 720 last year?
Yeah, because from March to June, nothing could go in there.
Okay.
Couldn't
Yeah,
use the
previous
historical
meeting.
society.
Okay. All right.
So
Jennifer, you got a negative 280. Is that because of the solar panels?
no, those are just all expenses. Some of this is
Okay.
they're
I'm sorry.
formatted differently for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, that I hesitate to bring this up, but that gets to the question I put in my notes about the use of these negative numbers at all, and whether it's folks understand what they are, and because the standard budget forms that we've used in the past don't include negative numbers that way unless it's an actual deficit.
Right.
So what are you saying by negative number? It's less than what was budgeted?
Well, the numbers in parentheses are actually negative numbers.
It's just the way that it runs through NEMRIC.
So
We have the option to not have them show that way.
in parentheses.
Correct.
It doesn't mean any different. It's the same as the numbers above that aren't in parentheses.
Correct.
Then why
I
would
would-
we have?
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, can we change that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Because I was looking at going, how do we get less than what we budgeted for? How do we?
I have to do a formatting change, so I will do that, not tonight.
Okay.
Make
That'd
you
be
all
great.
do that, but
Oh, I
You
had a
want me
comment
to-
about the telephone, Jen. Is the telephone on the town system, or theirs is completely separate than the Holly Hall one?
theirs is completely separate.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah, I was gonna ask the same question.
Because they
Because-
have their own phone line over there.
But
Can they be put on our system?
No, because they're not in the same building.
That's what I thought. Then I wondered if that was the case.
I thought when I was over there at the rec department that we still had our 5885 number. Maybe they just moved it over there.
No, they just have their own. There is like 6209, I think, is their phone number.
Right, but when the rec department was over there, we kept the same number.
Oh, you might. I don't. That was pre.
Quite a while ago.
Yeah,
We're talking, yeah, a long time ago. Anyway,
because that was during renovations.
correct.
Yeah.
Maybe they just forwarded your number.
Maybe that's what I was thinking. Maybe they just forwarded it. And I feel like we were on the same system, but that was over 10 years ago. Don't trust my memory.
Many moons ago, right?
They can move whatever they want. They can do. Not that it would be benefit. Is there a benefit to having them? Whether or not it's there, if they could be as part of the town one, Holly Hall one, is that beneficial? Does that save us hundreds of dollars?
Well, the problem is that they had they're not part of this big connective system because they're not in the same building. So because the police station has multiple phones within their building, they're on a same system that we are, and the fire department is the same way. But because they only have one phone in the building, it doesn't make sense to change
Okay.
an upgraded system since no one's there and
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only about $45-50 a month.
Yeah. Which is an
Okay.
phone line. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So let's continue filling in.
So this service line might
Well,
be able
yeah.
to drop because that included a cleaner, and so that is something that we'll have to talk about at some point.
And you mean somebody to go in and clean?
Someone was going in once a month to clean that
Mm-hmm.
we thought had their own cleaning service but didn't, so it has raised it's not a very big issue, but a small issue with Department of Labor.
Mhm.
So at this point, because no one's using the building, we haven't had the building cleaned. Just because there's no use. So I guess
Right.
discussion would be is, if Ian says, if it gets back to full use, needing someone to clean it, or what's the plan to handle that? Because it will be easily almost a year since the previous person has worked, and if we use them, we'd have to put them on payroll, which is fine, but different than how it
So
was.
it might make sense to get like Mr. Mike's or somebody
Right.
to go in and do that as a subcontractor.
Right.
Yeah. Whoever cleans Holly Hall.
Or the fire station.
Right.
Right.
Have a couple of different people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just.
All right.
I would.
We can talk about that when we get to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is this is where we should budget, and we'll get this money back. So whatever is in this health insurance line, we get back
Okay.
in that reimbursement line.
And that's something you can put in there, you guys get from them.
Yep. It's just Oh my gosh, it's a single health insurance.
Single person health insurance, okay.
And why do we get that back? How does the,
Because the library pays for their own employees. They just jump on the town because it's a town plan, so we get reimbursed for that.
got it.
Does that come through their, what they get appropriated, right?
I assume it all ends up kind of washing out, but I think they
From
have
the
more revenues than just the appropriation. So
Okay.
And include the HSA.
they have to do their own HSA if they wanted to do that. That's not something we as a town would issue because we don't issue a payroll for the library.
Okay. Moving on. Okay.
Can I keep that?
The disability insurance, something I was gonna say you can come up with.
Yeah. And then what do you guys want to do for maintenance?
Oh,
So you've
God.
spent $240 so far.
Well, I understand that there's a laundry list of maintenance issues that need to be dealt with there. Ted Willis has been over there and he's preparing a list with cost estimates, but I haven't seen it yet. I imagine it's going to be
Many thousands.
yeah, probably. And so to what degree would the building fund, the capital building fund, be available for certain things?
We might want to use that because visiting there every couple of days to pick up some books for the kids, there's a lot of exterior paint work that's kind of chipping off. So I don't know if the whole building needs to be done or if there definitely and appears to be sort of water damage too in parts of the roof. So it might be pretty hefty.
Yeah, but if that's, I thought we all decided if it was maintenance, it couldn't be taken from the building fund. You know, if it's a paint project, that may be different, but if it's just maintenance, we had to put it within the budget. Wasn't that the discussion, Joel Peaker? You remember that? You're muted, Jolie.
Like if we're going to repaint the entire building, we put it out to bid, that comes out of our.
Right, that could come out of the building fund.
But, you know, if you got to fix 4 broken steps and something like that, that's maintenance.
Right. Ian was mentioning possible water damage. Is that, where would that fall?
Is that like from the roof? Do we have to replace the roof or?
Well, I don't know. It's just I can see, where water is getting in. It looks like it's rotting in some of the edges of the roof on one of the sides. And I don't know how extensive that is. It's just me glancing at it. But it looks like I just noticed it because a lot of paint was chipping away, and I was like, "Oh, that needs to be some work needs to be done on that." So it might get up there, and I don't know. Do we put a couple thousand into this?
I was going to say that maybe 1,500,
and see what Ted comes back with, and then reevaluate, obviously with the building fund, depending on what Ted comes up with.
Are you, Peaker, you okay? 1,500, 2,000?
1,500 is cheap maintenance.
I was going to say that. I was thinking more like 3,000 or 4,000.
That's what I was thinking too, but if we want to keep this.
Well, it depends on the level of maintenance, right? I mean,
Right.
How do we classify maintenance?
Well, that's part of the criteria are the total cost plus also the life of the work itself, the lifespan of the work.
Right. So like if it's a roof or if it's a painting, the whole building, that could be building fund, but
Right.
fixing a window or a stair would be maintenance.
Valor, do you think Ted's going to have us something by the end of next week or no?
I don't know. I'll check in with him.
Okay. Yeah, I should bring it up to us and readjust it. But.
Well, we should put something in there.
Let's put 3,000.
3,000. Yep, that sounds good.
So this cemetery care line item, this is different than the cemetery that's on the appropriation. Is that correct?
This is Briggs Hill, Varney, and the one up by you.
By me, okay.
3 town owned.
Okay, all right. And is this basically lawn care? Like mowing in that, or just more than that?
I think it's just the lawn care.
Okay.
Well, there is a little bit. I think we had some work done in a couple of them where trees came down, so it might.
Right.
Bit of that.
Okay.
There was stone repair.
Yeah.
And we have a capital fund for that now as well, so.
Right.
So can we level fund this to 3,500?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. And there's also the different opinions of doing more natural cemeteries, which is what cemeteries used to be, where you're not doing as much manicured mowing, and you sort of they're more wild. Sheep, right? Yeah, I mean,
Sheep
well
or
kept-
goats?
Goats.
right?
Goats.
Yeah, mowing cemeteries
Goats
only
like
came in
poison ivy,
when you
too.
had mowing cemeteries only came in when you had people who could mow. Before that, you never did that.
Yeah, so I had a Jen. So the admin assistant, isn't this for Gail?
No, that's for Sharon. 'cause
Oh,
she's-
okay. All right. So I'm looking at this going, isn't Gail part-time? Let's get insurance. Okay.
Now Sharon's time is split 50-50 between clerk and an admin assistant, and then admin assistant also includes Gal.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's discuss this, Michelle.
Now we're still on the admin.
Oh,
Do we still have to put stuff in there? Like computer?
Bob needs to get in there, and then the computer.
I assume that's the.
I don't know why it got dropped, but I don't know.
level fund.
Level.
Well, it was 943 last year. They're already at 584. What's the amount?
8. She's put 8 in. She had a last year. Or,
Well, but it was dropped for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why. Unless I can look at the line and check to see if there's like a call, like a tech call that went in there,
Okay.
and just make sure. So I can double check on that. Now,
Okay, so let's talk about the labor line. So Brett says the fire department fills the Greenwood Cemetery water tank throughout the summer. Did they pay you for that, Brett?
That's, I don't know if it was written or just a handshake type agreement when the town made the decision not to, they had to maintain, upgrade, replace the water line that used
Right.
to run down Stony Hill,
Mhm.
which is no longer in service. So
Right.
and I don't say that because it's an issue at all. Just pointing out to our select board that your fire department, a couple volunteers, it's amazing how much water they go through down there. But
Yeah.
these guys jump on that task whenever we're asked, and we're happy to do it.
Mhm. But that, the reason I ask if you got paid is because they have the cemetery fund. I didn't know if they reimbursed you guys for the water, but.
Nope,
Okay.
I just, Therese Kirby was the town administrator when this agreement was put in place. Valerie, I'm not even, I think you might be aware of it, Valerie. I think I copy you on emails with Mr. Lathrop, but so yeah, the fire department does not receive any direct compensation from
Okay.
anyone for that service,
Okay.
nor are we looking for it.
Okay. So how do you guys feel about this? I mean, I know we talked to Brett about this with the training and all that.
I'm not opposed to them getting paid for the training and that. Opposed to doing it this year. I just, for all the reasons that we've tried to keep everything else
Mhm.
down.
Yep.
I think that, it's, by no means, Brett, by no means a snub to the members of the fire department.
So if I may, Michelle, this is Brett.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, I just, obviously we had a conversation about this several weeks ago. Peaker had an idea. He and I had a conversation last week. Haven't done any more with the information he shared with me with his idea. And I'm happy to continue this conversation, but to make the best use of everyone's time. Me personally am not prepared to continue this discussion tonight, as I need more time to prepare to come back with something more formal for you folks to look at, so we're not sitting here trying to figure this out on the fly.
So question for you, Brett, can we level fund it this year and begin this discussion next year, starting for the next budget on how to deal with paying for trainings or what mode we want to go through?
When you say level fund, Michelle, do you mean just continue as we have been? Is that
Yes.
what you mean? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm 100% okay with that. Like I said
Okay.
to you folks a few weeks ago, I know of no known problems or concerns today regarding this issue. Just again, wanted to bring it to your attention so we could just have the conversation. If we need to change things, then maybe we should change them. But as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't need to happen this year.
Okay, that would be great. So then we can continue the discussion.
Yeah,
next year.
and
Okay.
And in fairness to you folks too, I mean, I think this particular topic deserves probably much more time than we have between now and I know you guys have a budget you need to complete in the next few weeks. So.
Okay.
Okay.
That's great.
Well, it might need to go up a little bit, so I'll work with Brett to get a different number. Just because they are at a minimum wage increase, so I just want to make sure it'll probably go up a little bit, but not what it's up right now.
Okay.
Minimum wage, what does that go up to?
I think it
$11.75.
Okay, we're currently paid $11 an hour. So it was just above. It was just a little above last year's minimum wage. So, so yeah, Jen, you and I can touch base tomorrow.
Yep, and we'll get that number situated.
Great.
Perfect.
Drop it though in the meantime, just for ease of the eyes.
Thank you, Brett.
Thanks, Brett.
Sure thing. Walking down the town offices right now.
I was gonna say, I knew you were moving, I could tell.
Yeah, no, Scout said it was time to go.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Doesn't Addison County Regional Planning send us a bill, or don't we have a contract with them?
Wasn't that last year they didn't send us a bill?
Oh, that was different. Yeah, I just didn't have a chance I ran out of time to fill in these numbers, but yeah,
Okay.
all of these organizations are level funding.
Okay.
so that 5137, Valerie, that's a good number, you think? Because that's what we
5191.
Well, we budgeted the 5191, but we paid
Oh,
137. Do you think that's a good number, or the 5191?
I'm not sure. I was trying to find the budget. I thought he actually sent an email recently, but I couldn't put my hands on it.
Well, let's do this.
Do the 5191. Yeah.
Bless you.
bless you.
Excuse me, sorry.
I'll make Joel happy when he can go back and get $54 out of the budget.
I know.
So this year there'll be nothing there because there was no parade.
Right, so are they in the appropriations too?
Yes.
Yes.
So they get this plus what's in the appropriations?
This is the BP, we pay.
Oh, this is the Bristol Police. Okay,
for
BPD.
the event.
Got it.
So that's what this is.
Yeah. So we might as well
But that-
level fund that.
But that doesn't come out of their appropriation, does it?
Right, no.
No.
A holiday, Michelle made a note on here.
Yeah, I just said, sometimes when we have funds where we want to give somebody, Bristol bucks, we always say, where's it coming from? So I didn't know if we could just have they used to use it for the Christmas or the holiday committee.
Right.
But
Or it's actually the Hoyle Day Committee. It must be something different.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that got moved to the rec department budget,
okay.
Oh,
Okay.
didn't it? Wasn't that the decorating money, or is this another holiday committee that we
No,
have?
No, that was that.
Okay.
Okay. And this is, are we gonna get slammed with a county tax that's higher again this year that we're not ready for?
Don't know.
Think, I thought I had sent, did I send you an email, Valerie? That they
No.
sent something along.
Because they usually send you an invoice, right?
They do, but she sent something about the budget and I didn't see.
Well, there was a hearing. We got an invitation to the hearing.
Maybe that's what it was.
Doing a word search right now.
Oh, could we cut that Bristol PD paying for the 4th of July? I see last year, obviously we didn't have a parade, and then the year before was 778. Could we cut that down to maybe 1,200? Still leave close to 500 in it, but
That works for me, as long as.
I wonder what 1,200 does. If Bruce is on, what does that give us for officers for the day? An extra 2 there a day, or what?
Yeah, she gave us an estimate for county tax. That was 17,300.
When was this?
I just searched my email. Oh my gosh, how do I get out of that? Sorry. In December, that's what I thought I had forwarded to you, because Sharon forwarded it to me. But I can send it to you right now, Valerie.
Bruce, if you're on and you want to answer that question for Joel.
I thought it was 1,200, so I'm not sure what the 778 is.
What?
But
What is it?
that's what I thought
Oh, that's what
it was.
that's what you build out in February of fiscal 20. That'd been July of 2019. Bruce. That's what it says here, $778.
Right. Yeah.
You build out 1,200, then I'll leave it at 15.
I'd have to go back through the records.
It's not a great deal of money, but.
No.
And I know you got to be the night before too for the 4th of July. A lot of traffic in town. You have extra officers there.
Right. I think probably the 778 is when we were down personnel. Because I do remember one that was somewhere around 1,200 when we had more people. It depends on how many officers we have come the 4th of July.
Well, the year before that, there was nothing billed, so I don't know what happened to that.
That was probably my first year of doing it, and I forgot.
So should we leave it at 1,500, Bruce, or should we leave it at 1,200?
I would say 15 because salaries have gone up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Done. Okay, moving on.
Moving on. That's the end of the general fund.
So how many lines? There are still lines that aren't filled in, aren't there?
Right.
Yeah.
Workers' comp and tax, some of the tax lines.
Mm-hmm.
So we're 40.
Let's say 50.
You're up 37. What? 37.
37.6.
40,000.
In the general supplies section, there's an error in the formula that's not capturing some of the expenses.
Okay.
Oops.
General supply section.
Okay.
So you see it says 21,750, but it should be 29,250. You can see there.
There you go.
Lovely.
The same is true for the other, going across.
Okay. Come on.
So we're probably, when we add in those others, we're up around 50 more.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So now we have to do rec.
If you have more to talk about on these, but it looks like someone had, Michelle maybe had a comment on the appropriations from other towns.
Yeah. Is that that 16,000? That's from the other towns. Hey.
I adjusted these. It must not have fixed on this. Meredith sent me. That 16 is supposed to be swimming. Let me,
Oh, yeah.
it just somehow shifted down. Let me, Meredith sent me an email and I thought I had fixed it before you all got to see it.
Nope, we're seeing your mistakes loud and clear.
I know.
Come on, Jen.
Meredith was like, give me access.
No, you're like, what? What are you trying to do here? And I was like, I'm trying to move it.
What's wrong? Alignment. But unless you had more to discuss, I mean, this was everything that you discussed with Meredith when she was here.
Yeah.
So I don't know where, I mean, it's up to you.
No, I don't think there was anything more in there.
Yeah, we pretty much leveled it, or
and
the only big increase was the hub with the skate park maintenance line.
Yeah.
And then the only thing that Valerie, did you get a chance to double check if their salary figures were right based on what you all decided?
I did not get into those budgets with the salary figures.
Okay. So that would be the only other thing left to,
Okay.
just based on your decisions.
Okay.
Okay.
Highway.
I don't think there was anything in there either, other than the salary stuff.
Salaries, I think everything.
And based on the select board's just most current decision on that is to not make adjustments.
Okay. But you did it, I noticed some have a slight change because it's based on what they actually issued in July.
Right.
So I might want to just double check. We might
Right.
want to
Yes.
double check
It's not a
that.
straight copy. Right.
Right. I mean, we could just put, whoops. We could just put,
I think I couldn't, yeah, the sheets were protected, so I couldn't make any changes.
weird. I thought I had unprotected everything that needed to be filled in. 235 is level, but it'll go up a little bit probably.
235. Oh, okay.
Right? Is that, did I take
It says 239,650.
Oh, see, I'm looking at the spend. Thank you. 9,650.
25,474.
Thank you.
And then 25,47. 2671.
Okay. So then at least you have figures in there. And then we can get down to the bottom.
And for that highway overtime can't be correct at $582.
Sure.
What's this up till December 31st?
No, that might be up to November. We did this one early. So I need to adjust those columns.
Okay.
Please.
I don't think there was anything in here either.
Appropriations is the big one.
Yeah.
Right. So I just separated them just for clarity for my own eyes because the NIMRIC has them all mushed together. So just so you could see what was town and what was social service.
Are we level funding everything?
The equipment fund you have to, I think, because you owe money on
Mm-hmm.
a vehicle. So I don't think you have a lot of leeway in that if you want to keep that on track for the next large purchase. So I don't know how you want to do the rest of.
I would just level fund everything for now so we can see what the numbers are. The library will get you their number, or is that
right?
Yes.
Do we know if this vehicle fund should still be at 100 though? For the fire department?
Well, it shouldn't drop, that's for sure.
I know it's not going to drop, but I was thinking that it was an increase.
Yeah, I would have to look at Brett's
Yeah, he was here.
vehicle fund.
Right.
And do we have the,
I don't think that vehicle fund went up for 3 years. I think that's when he had it going up. It was either 2 or 3 years out that it went up.
from now, right?
No, now with an estimated cost of the fire truck, if
I see.
we had a better figure that it might need to be increased this year is all.
Yeah, the library,
Yeah.
you could leave it at 144, 248. I'll double check the number tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure she level funded.
Okay. Thanks, Sharon. And then you have to decide if you're going to do the cemetery fund this year. You used undesignated fund money last year to establish.
Can we wait and see if we have any designated fund?
Well, you're not going to have any undesignated fund money. I can tell you that. I don't expect there to be a large balance to be used.
Yeah.
I think we hold off on that then.
Okay.
We also have, so for the other ones, don't we have the issue of the money for the sidewalk project, Val? You're muted.
Val, you're muted.
We haven't received the final invoice yet from VTrans, so we don't know what the final total expense is. But yes, at some point we need to decide where the different, which funds are going to pay for the expense. We have the sidewalk fund. We've got the Stony Hill community development, for lack of a better term, community development fund that's not currently designated or committed. So don't know yet.
Okie dokie.
Jen, I would put the fire department vehicle fund at the same, yeah, and then we can figure out, we can look at Brett's plan to see what his.
He sent an email over the weekend with an updated plan. I'm opening it now. Let's see. He's got it at 100 through 2025.
Okay.
And jumping to 115 in fiscal year 26.
Okay.
Michelle, this is Brett. That
Yep.
is no change. In the annual appropriation, the only changes I submitted to Valerie were specific to the apparatus replacement plan. There were no changes to the capital equipment plan, but it was to reflect the sale price of the town's utility truck that we have a bill of sale on, because it was, much more than we originally anticipated, which is good news for the town.
Right.
So I upped that number to accurately reflect that and adjusted the purchase prices along the way, but I didn't add anything to the appropriation lines. And as much as I, want to, This year, I don't think we need to. Perhaps this warrants a discussion again next year, but I think given everything that's going on, I just don't feel comfortable about asking for any additional appropriation at this time.
Okay, great, thanks, Brett. Okay, the social services appropriations, those are all level funded? And I understand you guys haven't heard from just 2 people?
Right, but I also have a couple things. The after-school program doesn't exist anymore because they lost where they were doing it, so that one can go away.
Mm-hmm.
And the life services decided they weren't going to ask for the money that they normally do, but their only question was if they don't ask this year, they don't want to have to start over next year. And so that's $100.
Let's answer the second question. I think we can agree that they won't have to start over as long as they don't want it, as long as they don't want an increase. Is everybody else on board with that?
Yes.
Well, that's an established fund, right? It's not that they're in their 1 or 2 or 3rd year of an increase.
No, it's not like the cemetery. They'll have to go back to petition next year. And there's the Turning Point will have to go back to petition next year, but we're level funded for this year.
Okay.
Anybody who is an established fund and has already done their 3 years, if they choose not to take it this year, then they will not have to start over next year, as long as they don't want to increase their funding.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. You said Sharon, you said there's 2 people you haven't heard from. Do you reach out to them?
Yes, I sent them an email. That's why I did have like 6 or 7, but then I got 5 of them in. So the only ones I'm missing are the Addison County Restorative Justice Services. And the 4th of July committee may not take theirs either, but I haven't gotten confirmation for that one.
Okay. Well, so they weren't able to use theirs this year, but they received it.
Right. So they
perhaps,
still have.
Perhaps they have it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to request it, but they haven't sent me anything definitive yet.
Okay.
But I have sent out emails, so I should be hearing because I have to have them by the 14th.
Okay.
Okay.
So we might be able to take out that 4th of July temporarily if we feel that they're not going to take it.
Mm-hmm. But if they don't take it this year again, they aren't going to have to start all over.
Right.
Yeah, because they're so
they have their budgeted amount they would use for next year, hopefully if all goes well, or this year rather, and then they would get it next year.
Okay. All right, cool.
All right. What's your pleasure? Are you done?
What happened with the charter house that just ended?
They didn't petition. They missed the petition last year, so they didn't get to be included.
I think they've missed 2 years in a row because there's been some turnover at the top, so haven't been able to get their act together.
Can we take them out of there? Like Jen, like the swim team and that, can they?
They have swim team out.
And what about Habitat for Humanity too?
I think we're planning to petition this year until we decided no petitioning, right, Valerie?
They wanted to, but because of the COVID restriction about no new petition. Yeah, because they missed it too. Yeah.
Right. I was gonna say they had some problems getting people out to get the signatures. And I think people were a little upset because they were only asking from towns that they had houses in, not everybody in Addison County.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So you have even Habitat. And the charter house. Okay.
All right. Is there anything else we need to put in there you guys want to look at, or are we done for now and till we get all the numbers in and get numbers?
This is Brett, Michelle, if I may. I have a labor number if you guys want to chew on it. And it's no change from last year, with the exception of adding the additional 75 cents to account for the increase in minimum wage. So last year's budget was 37,200 for labor, which includes your officers' stipends. And I have that breakdown if you want them. But so at 2,400 hours of labor at 1175, that's $28,200 plus your stipends brings you to the 39,000.
Okay. That'll change the FICA number, right, Jen?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
So we won't know a bottom line until we get all the rest of the salary numbers in there and that.
Yep, by next week, we should have it pretty well together.
Okay. Any other questions from the select board? Comments, things they want to talk about in here? Or we can move on. Hearing none, I say we
Move
can
on
move on.
fairly quick because my battery's going to go dead. And when it does, I'm
Where's your plug-in?
on the other side of the room.
We'll go get it.
I don't have cord to get to my phone.
Can we put in the
Okay.
budget to get bigger, longer cables for Peaker?
That's why you buy the 10-foot cord peaker.
That's
That's what I got.
What's
So
that?
he needs a 25-foot cord.
They got those
All I
too.
need is a 3-footer.
Okay. Review of draft town meeting warning. Val, you better talk fast.
Which side of the room, I suppose.
So, did folks see the email that came along this afternoon that Sharon conveyed some new information about the appropriations warning? Because we were following a track of breaking them out all individually, and that the draft warning that you have did that. But she has new information that put them all in a single article.
Well, I didn't see the attachment. I didn't get an attachment in the email. I just saw the email.
Oh,
Yeah, I couldn't open it myself, but
Yeah.
oh, okay. So, and then there was another question on this topic. What was it? Oh, it was about the format of the articles. Let's see. I guess one question was on Article 1. It says to elect town officers by Australian ballot. Does that seem redundant, or does that need to be there? I mean,
we always do, right?
but does that need to be an article?
I don't think so. Does it?
I don't know.
I don't know. A lot
Unless
of
it does
places
for-
actually put what they are, even though they have them separated on the ballot. They actually put what terms are and which offices are open.
Oh, that might be nice, actually,
So
to have that detail.
So what do we have this year, though? Just Peaker and Joel's?
no, we have school board, we have
Oh,
library.
we have school board.
So
I think it would be good to have that information if we have space.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can screen share this. Bear with me. I think that's it. So this is the email that we got this afternoon.
Yeah. Mhm.
And this is the single article that lists all of the appropriations in a single table, along with a description of what they do.
Are they voted on all at once, or they still voted individually?
According to this structure, it's all once.
So similar as to how we did it at town meeting when we grouped them.
correct. So you could do it either way. You could do it this way. I went right to VLC site and you can do it this way, or you can do it the other way where every single one is individual and people can say yay or nay for each one.
So what makes me nervous is if you've got the people who are just going to vote no because it's money, and they're all lumped together.
Mhm.
I don't know.
It's true. And also, if people want the option to not vote for one of them, they don't have that.
Right. I'd like them all separate. I know it's time consuming to read them all or vote yay or nay, but
that's what I was getting at.
Yeah,
Eric,
Virgin
did
does
you-
it that way.
Mhm.
City of
Eric,
Virginia
did you have
has
something
every
else to
single
say?
one separate.
I was just going to tell you that Starksboro, we left them all together.
Yeah.
Do you know what, Eric, do you know what the return rate is for people who would vote no for them? Do you see a lot of that?
We do it just like you guys did. We did it during town meeting.
Oh, okay.
9
I
times
wasn't
out of
Australian
10,
ballot.
they all went through. So
Okay. Well, because this is Australian ballot, Peaker's concern of
we
people
do
voting
have
no, I think is much greater than a floor vote.
there
But I
is.
also think it would be interesting to have them separated to see, okay,
Who
which ones
supports
did
what?
they vote no for?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Which ones do they support and which ones don't they?
Right.
I agree.
I do like, Val, I do like the layout explaining who they
Yeah,
are, which
right.
I think doesn't, it's not in the articles, it's just the explain in the article. Obviously it's adding more, but it would be nice to sort of have that.
We can put it in the articles too. I can put that end on each of the article ones
Okay.
separated.
I think that would help a lot in terms of just educating people about
Right.
them. And I know it's in the town report as well, but I think like just reiterating what these organizations do, I think would be great.
I can
Right.
do that.
That was the other thing that I wanted to pose the question because Sharon followed the template from Virgin's, and down here is the example of what Bristol has done that includes the purpose.
Oh, okay.
Right, but that was just for the bigger ones, so
Ah,
it's the ones that had to have signatures and whatnot. They weren't. So
those were the ones that was their first year petition or something like that.
right,
that
and
got
like
put in there.
yeah, and the library always has its own article. So,
yeah.
but I can certainly put the descriptions on each one that we already did. It's is this draft one out in the folder, Valerie, or
In the folder, it's on this particular draft is online.
oh, so
No,
it's in the town meeting where the other one was? Okay. So I
Yeah,
guess-
do you have one in the cloud, Val, that she can work from? I think she's asking.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay.
So I have some concerns regarding not the warning, but the in-person meeting, the two of them we're doing. And I think I'm concerned, especially with numbers in Addison County that will probably continue to grow. I think we need to look at how we handle that. And if we want to do in-person, if we want to change that, I know that if we change it to no in-person, it's all virtual, then you lose the ability for some people to be able to ask questions and learn about this. But I do think it's something that we need to discuss and make a decision on probably immediately, given the numbers that we're seeing.
I do have one question for you guys. Did you guys up the Zoom meeting so there can be more than 100 people? Because I have a feeling you're going to have.
Right. Yeah, we
I
need
just
to
don't,
figure
I
out.
don't want to get booted from.
We'll have to
Okay.
figure out how to do that if we can add a la carte or if it just has to mean subscribing to the next subscription level up.
Is it just a monthly subscription?
We paid an annual fee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this time.
Michelle,
Yes.
I was listening to Karen Horn this morning on WVMT, and there was a bill introduced to the House today. They're going to vote on it today. I wonder if anybody heard how it came out, that you can't have a virtual, you can have an informational meeting for town meeting, but you can't have your town meeting on Zoom.
Right.
And
Right, and that's what we're having is informational meeting.
So do we, and then they were gonna also pass where we could move our town meeting maybe to May.
No,
Someone objected to
we're
that.
not
And I
moving
second
it.
that. I second that. We put too much work in. Now,
I'm just saying, I
move
don't
it.
think we can we need to have a town meeting then. I don't think we can have it by Zoom. You can't have it.
No.
by-
It's
We won't be having a town.
informational.
It's an informational meeting.
We're doing everything by Australian ballot, so there will be no town meeting, just informational.
information.
Okay.
Just an
So-
informational meeting.
So my suggestion for the informational meeting is that we set up, depending on the numbers that we see and what the restrictions are, Holly Hall would be set up as a viewing space for the meeting. I think the select board members, as well as anybody else connected to the town, would be on Zoom. And Holly Hall would be set up with projection, and you'd have distance seating. You would hook up a laptop that would have the Zoom meeting on, and you'd project it with sound. So anyone coming in who wasn't able to use a computer could see the Zoom meeting in progress. And then they could also sit in front of the laptop and ask a question, because the laptop would have a camera and microphone. And that's the way that you would do the informational meeting. I don't think we should be there in person. You're adding 5 or 6 or 7 more people into the room. You then have the complexity of filming all of us, which is much easier if we each have our own computers, remotely. So I think that's how we should handle this. I think that's the safest way to do it, if we're allowed to even have numbers of a certain magnitude in that hall at that time anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't want the select board members there, but you want people there to view it?
Well,
And what
because
can we-
if the offering is that we're trying to do it where you can have people view it who aren't Zoom savvy or don't have that ability, that's the one way you would be able to do that. Unless you have it where we can work with Neat and have it be live, which I think they have been doing, and have people call in, but you'd have to have someone monitoring that to be able to have questions and call in.
I agree with Ian too. I fully understand where you're coming from, especially knowing that 80 people from Victory Baptist Church just had, there was an outbreak there because of a Christmas service. I see this along the same lines, having a number of people in the room, trying to find the solution. I think Ian proposes a decent proposal here. I can't imagine how else we might be able to do it and be safe.
The unfortunate thing is that a lot of the people who may not be Zoom savvy are also more at risk. Vulnerable, thank you.
Right.
And so I also don't want to encourage people to come to a meeting in the town hall where they're just looking at a large screen with other people who could also be vulnerable. Like I don't want that. If we have to offer an in-person, or maybe we decide not to do in-person, everything is on Zoom, and we aren't able to reach as many voters as we would if we had in-person as well as the Zoom. But
Well, it would
I
still
think
be
it's
televised. I mean, I think
right,
Neat would still televise it. It would just be more difficult for them to ask questions,
right.
unless we have a call in.
But they can still call in.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Unless they have
I
a
mean,
call in.
you might just have to, if there's people on the phone, you might have to say numbers that are on the screen rather than just showing the screen and saying if you have questions. But
That's right.
Mhm.
because we have auxiliary meetings frequently, and we have people on the phone because they don't have a computer. So we just
Okay.
tell them the information or send them an email as well ahead of time of the information. So that might be an idea as
They
well.
read their email if they don't have a computer. Come on.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
they don't have the tech savvy, or they don't have email, and they actually
Yeah.
get mailed a packet, like,
Right.
which is also not.
We could have it on Monday, May 3rd too.
You're going to get beat up.
On Monday, we still all won't be
And
inoculated.
Right.
Mr. Bouver, you
No.
can sit in the room, and I'll still be at home because I'm not
Yeah.
going.
At least in the window.
Joel, tell me something. You go Monday, May 3rd, and tell me how many come, okay?
About as many as March 3rd, probably.
Right. And Zoom does give the option to call in. You don't have to have a computer. You don't have to You know, you don't have to go
Exactly.
somewhere to watch it. You can call in and we can publicize that number ahead of time.
Yeah, and the amount of people that might come to watch it in person is probably going to be very small.
Well,
All
I
right.
mean, I don't have a problem myself being present at Holly Hall. You know, if one or two of us wants to be there, I have no problem being that. I mean, and that said, come that time, if the numbers are really bad, I may change my mind. But I mean, if there's limited number of people in there, I myself personally don't feel like I'm going to be at risk. But if we needed somebody there, I would be volunteer to go.
Yeah, the trouble with that, just me thinking about logistically, is that by having even one or two members there, you still are requiring other people to be there to support the event in terms of camera and microphone and setup. Like, remember back to the police meeting, that was a pretty big technical thing to do. And it's not saying that Sean and Mary aren't able to do that, but you just require more people to be in the room to accommodate the ability to film you, to move to the next person. If let's say, if you and Peeker are there, for example, just to have a camera that can get both of you, it requires an operator to be mic'd and things like that. It's much simpler to have it where it's just viewing and people can hear, you know, and we can do it so the view is the person speaking, the speaker. So you always know who's talking. Every one of us has our own computers remotely, has our microphones, similar to what we do now. You're just seeing this presented on the screen. And so you could do it where you could have a decent amount of people that would have the ability to come, sit distanced with masks, and still be able to ask a question with a microphone that we set up there, or even sitting in front of the laptop, moving and sitting at the laptop, asking a question. We'd see them on screen, they go sit back down, and they'd be able to see the screen on our response. That's the simplest way to do it. And it means less people in that space.
Somebody's going to have to be down there.
Yeah, I say if we're going to do it Zoom and we're not going to be there, that we do it all Zoom.
Yeah.
And
That's what I was
let
gonna
them
say.
call
So
in.
if we're not there, we're doing even viewing, somebody's got to be there.
Right, that's true.
Right. Someone would have to open the building. Somebody have to
Yeah.
be there during the event.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's
so-
plenty of people call in. I've actually, when I couldn't get on the internet, I've called in for this meeting. So it's not.
Yeah, we just have to make sure that we get the information to the people that are going to need the call-in information.
Right.
You know, that's probably going to be our biggest obstacle. You know, for those people who are not tech savvy or don't have the laptop or the technology to getting them that information. And
Right. I mean, odds are they're not checking Front Porch Forum or an email or something
Right.
like that. So how are you getting them that phone number? Would be
Well, we were going to do our postcard mailing regarding the articles and regarding the way that's happening this year. So we could add the information there because we can schedule the meeting and have that all ready to go. And we could put a phone number on that. And I was also thinking, I wonder if Neat streams it live, if they're able to do an overlay of a phone number that you can call in. So not something that we would see on our screens, but maybe if you're watching TV live and watching it happen, the number's right there on screen, and people could be able to use that to call in.
And I've actually scheduled via Zoom the 2 meetings that we're going to have for the informational meetings.
Okay, so we have all those links and we have the
set up.
numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had during our auxiliary meetings, if someone had a question, they could call or text this person's cell phone number, and they could relay the message.
Okay.
If need be as well, that way. Just a thought.
Okay.
Speaker, did I just hear you volunteer for that?
I was just going to say, who's giving out their personal cell phone number?
Right. We could use the thing. If Peeker can call in, so can you.
You're a good
See,
sport.
you're learning.
So what are people's thoughts? I agree with Peeker. I think you're right. I want to be there. I enjoyed doing it. I enjoy going to town meeting, but having us not be there, I do feel like it should only be Zoom, and we make sure, or try to make sure as best we can, that people are able to access it, whether you have a computer or whether you don't have a computer.
I'd be willing to offer up my number during the meeting since I'm always muted anyways.
Right. Okay.
Just a thought. and only during the meetings, not after or before.
Just any old time.
If it's 2 weeks from the meeting afterwards, I'm not answering the damn phone.
I don't know you. Yeah, and I think this, I mean, if things change drastically and, you know, suddenly there's no virus, we make a different move. I
I don't think we can make a different move. I think
No.
if we make this decision, we have to stay with this decision.
And there's going to be a
Okay.
virus.
I know.
It'll be worse.
It was wishful thinking.
How are we going to handle the voting, Sharon? I mean, mail a ballot or request a ballot, or how you going to
Request a ballot, but we still, no matter what happens, we have to be open for the polls.
Right.
Nothing's going to change that. Will Senning said that today. We have to be open for the polls.
So Sharon, are you going to do downstairs, or are you moving it upstairs this time?
No, I think we should just stay downstairs because it works well and we can have them come in one door and out the other.
Okay.
So,
I
and
don't think we
don't have to have as many people either.
Sharon, personally, Sharon, I don't think it worked. I don't think it worked even. It worked even poorly at November. With too many people in that. I think you ought to move it upstairs personally.
I didn't think there was that many people.
There wasn't. We had the 6 feet.
Well, there's two things that are different, Joel. One is that all these people aren't going to have to be signing affidavits because they didn't bring their mail-in ballot with them. So that's going to alleviate check-in time because you're going to go in, you're going to say your name, and you're going to walk and you're going to go vote. And the second thing being is that upstairs, unfortunately, the way that space is, it encourages people to congregate and socialize and whatnot. And we're trying to not encourage that. We're trying to.
You guys had that table right in front of the lister's door. You had to come in to give your name, and then you came back with a ballot. And somebody else was there to go out the back door. I think you just put another person on upstairs and say no loitering. As soon as you're done, out the door.
And when I was in the front office, and there were times there were a lot of people, but they just kept their 6 foot distance, and they would wait until the person in front of them was gone.
Mail me a ballot. Mail me a ballot, and I will mail it back in. I'm not going.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. That's why they give people that choice.
Yeah. I would also say when I was working, having the plexiglass, I was in the front there, gave me a little more security as well. Even though I was masked.
Don't have that, did they?
I know. But they had didn't they have something set up? They had plexi set up somehow, didn't they?
They did, but I've also ordered, as part of the grant money that I had, I ordered some better plexi for out back. So that'll help as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So are we all on board with this route? Totally Zoom?
Yes.
We'll definitely need to figure out how to increase the numbers of participants, just in case.
It won't be.
Yeah, I'll check our subscription and find out how we increase it.
Okay.
But it won't be Monday, March, whatever, right?
March 1.
Same. It's the same. It's essentially the informational meeting takes the place of town meeting.
Yeah. We're just calling it something different.
Right. Which we need to be clear to the voters
There's
about.
There's 2 meetings though. The February 22nd and March 1st.
March 1st. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Can we move on? All right. Recreation Department grant authorization request, Better Places program.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay. We don't have the minutes, did we, Val?
I emailed them this afternoon.
Oh, I didn't get them. Or if I did, I didn't see them. So can we put this off to the next month? Did anybody else get them?
Yes.
I did.
Got one. There was
I have
one.
not looked at them.
Just one.
Yeah, I saw one. I looked at it quickly. I can't say I looked at it thoroughly.
Okay, we'll put that off until next meeting.
Oh.
Authorize accounts payable warrant and any liquor license.
I don't believe there are any tonight.
Okay. We didn't get a warrant, did we?
No.
No, you get one next Monday.
Okay. Select board roundtable. Go Jolie, let's jump with you
Nothing for
first.
me.
Darla,
No, I don't have anything this evening.
Peeker,
I'm good.
Ian?
Uh,
Oh, right. I should have started with you.
nothing for me.
Really?
Talked him out of that, Michelle.
No, all I want to do is ask Bruce. You figured out what's wrong with the speed sign?
It's the cold affecting the batteries.
No. So we need to get hand warmers on it?
Probably.
That's all I had. Town administrators report.
I have nothing to add to the written report other than that I've been working on the select board annual report for the town report. It's going to be a combined select board and town administrator report. And I did send Sharon a work in progress draft, and I'll be sending it out to the select board for review this week as well.
Okay.
To get your
Okay, other business, correspondence reports, correspondence received, and we'll have to deal with the resignation.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, I have a quick question on
Go
the
ahead,
town
Sharon.
report.
Yep.
Valerie sent me the dedication that we're doing. Is it going to be a dedication and a memoriam, or is it going to be one or the other? And if it is, are we going to have something else?
I thought you said one question. That was like,
That was combined.
It was combined, that's right.
That's right. Ian.
What have we done in the past?
we've done memorials and dedications. I mean,
Go ahead.
I don't know which way I would go. I mean, it's more of a memorial than it is a dedication at this point. I think people should be recognized while they're alive.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it both ways. Or each.
I have to, yes.
Yeah.
So whatever your pleasure, I can go either way, but
You should say dedication and in memoriam.
We could do that. That's one way to do it.
For dedication in memory of.
Right. Something like that.
That makes sense to me.
Works for me.
For me.
Yeah, I guess you got your answer, Sharon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Resignation. Oh, yeah, I'll say his name because
Adlai Ostrer.
Adlai.
Adlai.
Can you spell that, please?
Adlai.
And then what was the last name?
Ostrer. Ostrer.
That one I could have spelled for you. The first name. I
Took me
might
a
not have.
while to get it all.
Okay. He had to move to Virginia, so he has resigned from the fire department. Or is asking to resign, so I need a motion to accept.
Move to accept his resignation.
Somebody second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Say aye, whatever. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Do we have to go to executive session?
It might be worthwhile briefly.
Okay. All right. Before I
Or-
start
Personnel
the
matter.
motion, does anybody else have anything else? Okay. Personnel matters, right, Val?
Correct.
Okay. I make a motion, we enter executive session to discuss personnel matters for 1 VSA section 313. Any
Second.
second? Any more discussion? All those in favor? Raise your hand, wave. Any opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Night.
Night.
Good night,
everyone.
thank you.
Hi, Taj.